pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, Atlantis.
Water towers can fly! Yes!
Tango Delta nominal.
Flighting outside speed off. Bring in, speed off. Off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.
All right, folks. You know the drill. Let me know if you can hear me. John Galloway, NASASpaceflight here. You should have live views of the Chopsticks doing their CATO this morning, their crane-assisted takeoff. We've been standing by all morning watching for this. Looks like they had a safety meeting. Crane operator was in the cab, and then here we go. And I've got a question for you this early in the morning. Everybody loves the intro video, but in a case like this where something started to happen and we were going hot in a hurry, do I play the intro video for you, or do I not play the intro video and cut straight to the stream? Put your feedback in chat for me. But we are ready for a potential installation here on the Chopstick system. With me in the studio this morning, well, I mean, not really in the studio, but in the virtual studio, we also have DK, Derek. How you doing this morning?
Good morning. Very good. How you doing?
Hanging out, watching them take this thing off. Hopefully it goes all the way up on the tower today. And then also, we've got Chris Bergen. Chris, we got you on comms?
We do, yes. I was wondering if I was needed or not, but yes, I'm willing to just put my voice on stream at call.
Hey, it's more of a, is it like a needed versus welcome? You're always welcome to pop in anytime you have the ability to pop in, Chris. But y'all, you can see on the screen right now that they already have that thing lifted much higher than we saw it go yesterday. And we think that this may be it. It may be going all the way up to be installed on the tower. Earlier this morning, we saw them remove some of the skates, the little roller carriages that they have on the tracks on the tower, but they replaced all of those, and those will be the mount points. There's 12 different mount points, sort of contact points, where this chopstick system attaches to the tower. So, as always, we're live. We told you we'd do commentary on this. We spooled up a special stream. Chris, do we pin that in Starbase Live yet?
I'm working on that as we speak.
Excellent. So if you were over in Starbase Live, we're going to put a link to this stream in Starbase Live as well, because we usually keep two streams going. When there's a big event, we have the commentary stream, which is where you are right now if you hear the sound of my voice, and we also have Starbase Live going. So without further ado, it's already in the air. I mean, what am I supposed to say, right?
It went much faster than yesterday. I mean, yesterday they did all of the work of sort of balancing it.
Yep.
And today all they needed to do is figure it out and get it lifted.
Yeah, we saw them spend a couple hours yesterday on setting it up to make sure it was exactly balanced. They were up there pulling on those chain hoists for the longest time. So the orientation it's in right now, it looks like they may be good to go. And
I'm so excited to see this thing up on the tower. And like, it'll have a lot of work on it yet, but it's gonna look mostly completed, right?
Yes.
Like, I don't know what else needs to be on there yet.
I mean, it's all like details and plumbing and stuff like that. I think most of the big stuff is already on.
I'll tell you one thing it needs.
Oh, let me guess.
A caught booster. Hey, there you go.
There you go.
A caught booster, nice.
Yeah. You're glad I'm on the stream now, aren't you?
Hey, always. Again, folks, if you don't know what we're looking at here, this is the chopstick system. Like, what does that mean, the chopstick system? It is actually designed to catch a booster that is landing. I'm going to say it again. It's supposed to catch a booster. There are no landing legs on the current design of the booster. It does not land on its bottom. It is caught out of the air via these load points up near the top of the booster, and this system is what's supposed to catch it, which is sort of a wacky idea, I think is what the terminology I was using yesterday.
You know what? Even if it doesn't come off, it's still got its other role, which is stacking. I think Elon really likes that because it removes the need for these massive cranes at the launch site, which you don't be launching rockets with big cranes right next to the launch tower. So if that removes the need for Franken crane for a start, and these big massive cranes they hire in, which must cost an absolute fortune to hire as well, then that saves. I mean, that's already a win. The fact that they may take several attempts to try and catch a booster is just something I think they expect. I mean, I think Elon used his welcome go-to phrase of excitement guaranteed or something like that, which is his way of saying, look, you know, these things can go wrong or whatever. But also, I think Elon plays to that side of things, because I still remember him talking about Falcon Heavy's first launch, saying he had fears it would blow up on the pad, destroy 39A, and there'd be a Tesla Roadster wheel rolling down the crawlerway. So, you know, and I don't think he would have launched if he really thought that was the real risk. I think the real risk with that mission was staging, which went well. Everything went to plan. So I think he plays a little bit to say, look, expect something to go wrong, knowing that everything else is a bonus. So I think he has really got the right people there to have the confidence in saying, look, maybe it won't work first time or second time, but we can divert the boost. It won't destroy the tower, it won't destroy Mechazilla, and then we'll get it refined to the point that we do catch one. And he turned around and says, look, we've caught one. And it works, and he's proven it.
It's interesting because it's like it's sort of a perception change for space and rockets on the whole. It used to be like, oh my gosh, our rocket blew up. Like, it was sort of a huge deal, and now it's like, whoa, they just blew up a rocket. Of course, talking about uncrewed rockets there, test vehicles, that sort of thing. But now it's SpaceX sort of pushing forward, not scared of actually seeing some failure, because it doesn't mean it's the end of their program. You can still get good data out of a failure too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just remember the fact that they did a fun parody video on their Falcon 9 booster attempts to land on the ASDS. There's something where no other company would make a fun video about that, and they've done that because they said, look, that was our development process. We can have a laugh at it now because we've made it work. I'm sure they'll do a version for Starship at some point when it's regularly landing, and I'm sure they'll do this is just the way SpaceX works. They go, look, we are about fast reiteration where we can test. What was Jim Bridenstine's comment? He said, it was the first time I heard a NASA administrator praise test failures as a way of getting to success. It was incredible. It was test, fly, fix, fail, fix, fly, something like that. It was a crazy saying, but it was wonderful because it was exactly what SpaceX does. They do test to failure to find the data that makes them a success. That's something we'll see with Starship.
Yep, absolutely. And it's interesting. I mean, you get something back, like the rocket comes back, oh yay, the rocket successfully landed, that's great. And then it goes off to the scrapyard anyways, right? Like when you're doing the testing. In here, it's like, oh, you launched the Starship, and okay, it's going to end up in the ocean the first time, but if it landed somewhere else, it could just end up in the scrapyard. So why are you going to slow down your development process? Because, well, we need to figure out this other thing, this and this other thing. And instead of launching a system that it's like, well, we're not going to launch it until the entire thing's ready, and it's all ready to go, and it's going to be 100% perfect, we're going to launch it. We're going to see what we need to fix. I imagine there's going to be a lot of learnings on the TPS system, those tiles coming back through reentry, but that's not going to stop them from pushing the tests forward and pushing the information, the data they get back from the test. And again, always wanting to be safe. It doesn't mean that we're just YOLOing oceans around or rockets around South Padre Island or anything like that. Not fast to the point of being reckless, but not letting perfect slow you down from pushing your program forward, right?
Absolutely.
Real quick, you're talking about not moving terribly fast, but this thing's booking.
Yeah, this thing is booking, yeah.
Goodness.
Look at the size of it, though, as well. That's something I think we've not really appreciated since they've mated all the parts. It was like 2 arms of chopsticks made onto the thing on the red structure. I think they even named the red structure with a nickname. Everything's got a nickname there. It's a huge structure. It really is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as much as we sort of poke fun at it, the jargon is important. Like, you come up with something and you want to communicate with people, and it's like, put them on the cat or whatever. I don't know what the red thing's called. But you don't need to call it. Put it on the temporary red structural support apparatus. Like, come on, dude, just call it the cat. Call it the chopsticks. Call it the carriage. Like, call it Frank Crane. Whatever it is. They're out there to do a job, aren't they?
Yep. Well, I'm fascinated by how far up the tower it'll go, because we see the skate there, don't we? One skate on the left-hand side of the tower. that's associated with it because this thing will ride up and down the tower just for even more fun. It doesn't just catch things, it doesn't just stack things, it moves things up and down as well because that's part of the stacking process. So it's I can't wait to see it. I really can't. I can't wait to see him just test it, even without a rocket there, just to see the thing going up and down the tower. That'll be a time lapse, DK.
Well, yeah, right. I can't wait to see the speed at which it traverses in real time.
Yep.
Obviously,
how fast it can go up and down. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Like once we have, a time lapse, it's going to look pretty fast no matter what speed it's actually at. But I'm so excited to see it move.
It's gonna look. With the big cable system and stuff like that, it's gonna look like one of those claw games.
Right?
Like at the arcade or whatever, and this thing's going to be going up and down, and one of the times it's going to go down and come back up with a booster. It's like, oh, we won! How many quarters did Elon have to put in to win a booster?
More success than I do on those things.
Thing is rigged.
I don't get ever won on that game.
I think that's how it's designed, actually.
Yeah.
So in terms of how far it's going to be lifted, I think that we see the sort of maximum height in the background. The two skates that are clearly visible on the tower, they're the black area, the sort of little black things on the facing sides of the tower that are sort of towards us. And I think those are the top attach points. You see the arms that are actually really close to them right now. Those arms of the carriage are supposed to attach to those skates that you can see on the tower. The black raceway, let's see if we can't get a zoom in. I don't want to change this camera because I'm just going to leave it this way for a time lapse. But there's a guy walking on the tower.
Oh, yeah.
See? Right, it's that sort of level, like head level there where that person's walking. So I think they're going to raise it up maybe to get it over the orbital launch platform. But I think that's where the top of the carriage arms, that's where the top set of carriage arms are going to go. You can really see now, yesterday we were talking about, there's the top of the carriage and the bottom of the carriage, and you can obviously see the top arms of the carriage and the bottom arms of the carriage. They're sort of sticking off, the black part sticking off to the left-hand side here, and those are what's going to sort of, what did I say yesterday, like hug the tower like a koala bear, kind of.
Is that...
Somebody Photoshop that for me and tweet it at me, please.
What's wild right now, look at all the crew on that tagline in the lower left corner.
Oh, yeah.
There's a
They're
small
hauling
team
on it.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah. They need like a shanty, like a Starship shanty or something. Yeah. See the blue crane in the lower left, y'all. See the NASASpaceflight logo in the blue crane? And then right below that, there's a team of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, bunch of yellow shirts and a red shirt. Or is that... I wonder if that's it. No, I think that is a person in a red shirt. I wouldn't want to be the red shirt out there at the.
That's and you never want to be the red shirt.
Yeah, never want to be the red shirt. But they're falling on that line. Look at that. Even that just gives you a sense of scale of how big this thing is.
I just like the idea of them going home on an evening for their dinner and say, "What do you do at work today?"
Yeah.
Well, I hold this massive chopstick, which basically catch a booster.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Normal day, then.
Yeah, look at this.
Just, the usual.
It looks like we've got a spotter on the orbital launch platform itself. Look at this. Somebody's up there sort of keeping an eye. If we back that out, you can actually see that worker in this shot. Here we go, and we're going to zoom that other camera out and show you real quick. Again, just the scale of things. Like, here's how big a person is, and here is how big the chopstick system is. Actually, here we go.
There you go. I can see him moving around now.
Nick is listening to me. Like, we're just talking out loud. Look at this. So there's the person on the orbital launch platform in the background and the chopstick and carriage assembly in the foreground there. But just the sense of scale on this stuff is so cool. And y'all, we see the super chats coming in. We're sort of, I feel like we're all sort of excited this morning. Sometimes we're like, hey, all right, it's time to sit for 4 hours before a static fire. Like... But we see the super chats coming in. We'll get to those in just a minute. Grant Andrew, Spherical, DP Max, Hell Monkey, I guess. Corey, y'all, thanks so much for the support over there. We'll read through those in just a minute when we get a breather from the action here.
Which is going up so quickly.
It really is.
This morning we were like, all right, well, let's stand by, wait for them to lift, and now it is very, very in the air.
Yep.
Goodness.
And that was, go ahead, DK.
Well, I was looking at the orientation because we have the crew working on that tagline, and it's looking like it's sort of rotating in a way that I would presume to be undesirable, because it's going away from the sort of orientation that it would need to connect. I don't know if that is just to clear.
I mean, look at that angle. It's almost 90 degrees to the tower, it looks like. But I wonder, were they trying to clear something on the bottom?
Yeah.
Like, was that how they were getting it out from the reg structure and they sort of let it turn sideways? I'm not sure on that. Let's see if they haul it back around and change the orientation. Maybe this is just part of the plan to clear it and then turn it around and then sort of, I say plug it into the tower. I mean, you know, mount it onto the side of the tower.
It's just a standardized plug, you know.
Yeah,
just
you know.
pop it in, easy.
It looks like on the skates there's massive pins. Like they've actually got some big, seemingly installation pins hanging next to the skates. The skates are on the rail system, but they don't seem to have brakes on the skates themselves, I guess. Or at least if there's some sort of braking system, it's not installed or activated right now. So they've got these huge straps sort of hanging the skates on the rails right now. And there's big pins that seem like they're standing by as well. These big, shiny, they look like, I guess, the pins. I don't know what other terminology to use, that they're going to put in to connect the skates to the carriage. This is the most ridiculous terminology.
I was just thinking that, like, my goodness. Yeah, there's the pins to the just massive structure.
Yeah. Chris, was there anything like that in shuttle days?
No.
Like, was there...
Oh, actually, no, I'll tell you what, I'll tell a lie.
Are you going to say what I think?
Very vague towards
Okay.
it's very vague. If you remember when the shuttle orbiters used to either go to California for refits or came back from the California launch site, they came back on a 747. And to get the orbiter on top of the 747, the SCA, they had to use what was called the MMD, which was a MDD, a mate-demate device.
Right.
Which was a large kind of carriage thing which lifted the orbiter up off the ground. The 747 would roll underneath the orbiter and then they'd put the orbiter on top. So that was the nearest thing they had to shuttle, because someone asked me that before and I went, nope, nothing like this, is completely unique. And then suddenly that came to mind, so it just came to mind again there. But apart from that, no, nothing else similar at all. I mean, if you remember the fixed service structure and the rotating service structure at 39A and 39B, they were amazing structures, but they had nothing like this. I mean, the RSS was brilliant. It rotated backwards and forwards. They inserted the payload on there, but it had a little yellow cab at the bottom, which was like on a rail track, which rotated backwards and forwards. We thought that was the height of fun at a launch pad. Now, up steps Mr. Musk.
You know, the only thing I was trying to think about it, and the only thing, the sort of colloquial name that I can think of from the shuttle was the beanie cap. That's the only
I mean that was a late audition
of.
as well. I mean that wasn't initially there the first time, but that's something they needed, because when you've got this massive external tank, you've got a vent hood at the top. You need some way of getting that away from the pad.
Yep.
Because you don't want. Remember when Jack was saying, "Is that methane smoke near Starship?" You don't want things near your engines. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the only sort of, and I'm sure even that, did that have like an official name? I don't know the official name for it. It was actually like the
Gox vent hood.
There you go, the Gox vent hood, but it was referred to, I guess, by
beanie
fans
cap,
as
because
beanie
it was
cap,
little,
right?
Yeah, it was a little cap which on the top of the external tank.
Yeah. God. So in any event, I mean, it's funny that that's the terminology, but if you're a hardcore fan, or not even if you're a hardcore fan, if you've been keeping tabs on what's going on, if I said, you know, the carriage, or I named one of the cranes, or something like that, the chopsticks, you would probably know what I was talking about if you've watched a couple of the streams. So, oh, you know something? Somebody's pointed out in chat, this is the proper orientation, because the crane is going to have to rotate 90 degrees to its side.
Oh, you're 100% right.
On the main axis of the crane, and then when the crane rotates, this is going to sort of rotate in the correct position.
That is a good spot.
Ah, excellent.
I know how cranes work. All right.
Yeah, that's a good point. The big, I mean, it's Franken crane. It's you know, rasta colored, whatever you want. The big crane that's actually holding this up right now, the workers refer to it as Franken crane because it was like pieced together from components of other cranes. But that is the big crane. It's just one crane doing this lift, and that crane is going to pivot on its main axis, and it's going to sort of turn 90 degrees to the right of the crane operator who's sitting. You can see the cab of the crane down there, but it's going to be to the left from our perspective, and when it swings around, it's going to sort of move that boom over the orbital launch mount, the big pillars on the left-hand side, the gray pillars, right? And when it does that, that should start to sort of turn it into the right orientation. I imagine there's some inertia and stuff there too, like the crane turns, but that doesn't really want to turn, so you get it this way in advance so that the cables sort of help with the turn, you know?
Sure. And it is turning right now.
Oh, you're right.
Very slowly, but it is turning.
God. Look at it from, I mean, look at this great end-on view from the beach angle there. Look how skinny that center pivot, that one strong line up the middle, that's what the chopsticks are going to pivot on. And that's going to allow them to pivot over to one side to pick up a booster off the ground, and then they'll pivot straight. This I would sort of call this the straight configuration. And when they're sort of going forward like this, that'll put them right over the orbital launch mount, the platform in the background that the booster is going to sit on. And then they can pivot off to the right as well from this perspective. And when they do that, I believe that's going to be the catch position out there over sort of the salt flats. So that's, God, it's still turning. Look at that. The crane is turning, and the chopstick carriage assembly is turning as well. I'm trying to say that without, like, with a straight face.
Goodness.
Very cool.
Sometimes you just get sort of lost in the grandeur of the whole thing and end up just looking at it.
Yeah.
My goodness.
It's so hard. Like if you're just looking at one camera, especially a camera that's zoomed in a little bit because of the flattening that the telephoto lenses do, it's hard to sort of get a grip on what they're doing sometimes. But when you're able to sort of switch around to different views and different cameras, like, that's how it's turning. I gotcha. I think it's almost, look at this, from the Mars perspective, you can already see that crane has significantly rotated around to the right.
Yeah.
And that's going to be on the far side of the tower from here, but I almost wonder if the crane's not going to crawl any as well.
Well, I guess they certainly wouldn't want it to. If they can get it in position where it can then just rotate it into place.
That makes sense.
You know, that's to only have that one axis to have to deal with, but
yeah.
You know, depending on how it all lines up, they might not have been able to do so. But
it does look. It looks like with the length of the boom and the current position of the center of the crane, like where that main crane boom comes down, and it's not the yellow crane. The yellow crane is actually way in the foreground. That crane is not involved with this operation. It's just the multicolored crane on the right near the tower. That's the one doing this 100%. But it does look like, DK, when that pivots over to the side, and then the boom gives you a little bit more reach, right? Because it's sort of going to reach out forward some. Maybe they can just get it over there. It's one of those things that when they do crawl that crane, it moves so slowly that you really don't see it unless you've got like a super zoom and you're just looking at like the crane versus the tower in the background. Or once you time lapse it, like you speed up the video, then you can see, oh, the crane crawl forward a little bit.
It's looking like the whole carriage is sort of rotating a little bit right now. I don't know if that is purposeful.
Yeah. I would imagine that everything they're doing out there is purposeful right now.
Fair enough. I just worry about it sort of spinning.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got the taglines on there.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Look at the weight system. The
counterweight on the back.
Yeah, look at that huge counterweight on the back. Like, look at the vehicles in the foreground. The vehicles are closer to you, right? And then that massive counterweight on the back of the crane. That's what it takes to balance out that load. I don't know how many tons they have on there, but it's a lot of tons. Those are basically just solid steel blocks on the back of that crane. God, that's cool. Since this is sort of an active operation, y'all, we're going to grab some questions, but we're not going to sort of go way off into the field with questions. Like if we're talking about, oh, when orbit or something like that. I'll try to get some questions specifically about the crane. But look at that.
For anybody who's talking about wanting to see some time lapses, we're going to have them certainly in today's daily video that'll be coming out later this evening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think the angle for today's video is covered.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I mean,
it's
maybe
kinda
there
funny,
could be a static fire yet this evening.
Well, yeah, but I think that'll be, if there's a static fire, that'll be a second video, won't it? So
Yeah, fair enough.
the joke is, Mary and Nick send so much content. We do have discussions of what the angle will be, because you've got 3 or 4 really good things you could say. Is like the lead thumbnail, the lead angle, the lead headline. It's just every day there's something going on.
I mean, this is moving and lifting so fast. I hesitate
Yeah.
to go through some of these.
Yeah, right now I'm filling up some questions in the queue, but this is, I mean, they're about to be over to the tower, you know?
Yeah.
Beat yesterday 6 hours, doesn't it?
Yeah. Hey, it's just one of those things. I mean, all the time that they spent yesterday leveling and aligning and working with the rigging on this thing. Because, y'all, yesterday we watched for like almost 6 hours and they, whoa.
Oh, where's that going?
Yeah, that's a sudden turn. I'm looking for the taglines there, but that's
Yeah,
sort of
like the-
rotating.
They're yanking on those taglines.
Yeah, it looks like there's. Is that one person down there yanking on the tagline? Or
There
can we
was
not
2
see
or
them?
3.
Going back
yeah.
now.
Interesting. I wonder what that was. I mean, just imagine that thing's like a huge weather vane up there, right? It didn't. Luckily,
Yeah.
it doesn't have a big flat side like the side of a barn on it to catch the wind. But the way that's oriented and where the main pivot point of the crane is, if the wind were to pick up and sort of catch those long, the long chopstick arms, I mean, that's what I'm supposed to call them.
Yep.
It would be a significant force that they would have to overcome. No, it'd be worse if it had like an actual vane or the side of a barn, like a big flat surface to act like a big fin or a wing. But there are a lot of forces in play here right now. You know, I guess the other thing is, as they rotate the crane, the workers can't just pull on the lines. The workers actually have to move around too.
Yeah, because it's moving, right? It's not just
Yeah.
an up and down operation.
Yeah.
And I'm looking through. There's actually more taglines than I even realized. There's one coming down from the carriage itself too. That's a little harder to see.
There's so many structures, right?
Yeah.
Like there's so many structures there. It's sort of hard. Things get caught in the clutter. I guess you could say it's like visual clutter, you know. You know something? I forgot one of our cameras, but I'm okay with it. I set our second beach camera this way this morning to show like the whole facility and family.
Sure.
And I'm okay with this time lapse.
This
like you
look
got,
at this.
yeah, ship 20 over there. You got the remnants of Booster 3. You can see Booster 3 over on the right hand side, next to ship 20. It's been sort of cut up. You got the hopper down there. The original test article. You've got Booster 4, which is supposed to take ship 20 up on its ride into orbit with an asterisk next to it. Then you've got the tower. You've got the QD arm up the tower. You've got the chopsticks being attached. You've got the orbital launch mount, the orbital tank farm over on the left-hand side. That's basically the whole facility in one sort of, not really a panorama because it's just one shot, but you know. Anyways, I'm not going to touch this camera. I'll just let it ride, you know?
Yeah. Get a time lapse from that angle too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we do have this camera which is at the same position, but it's framed a little bit more closely. I did a guess as to how high it would be lifted, and it looks like they're not going to lift it off the top of my framing. So it's always the trick when you set up the time lapses. You're like, now exactly where are they going to lift this thing? And then if it goes off the frame, you're like, gah, missed it.
Yeah, and you know that you don't want to lift this any higher than you'd absolutely need to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it looks like it's just high enough to clear the launch mount.
Yep. And folks, if you're just joining us, this is it looks like they're going for the installation of the chopstick and carriage system on the actual orbital launch integration tower. This would be the sort of integration of Mechazilla. Mechazilla, Elon's called it. The system that they're trying to use not only to stack the boosters, the ships on top of the super heavy boosters, but also to catch the boosters and potentially the ships when they're coming back down. They're not putting landing legs on either of those elements is the plan we're aware of right now. And they're expecting to use this big chopstick system to catch a huge rocket falling out of the sky in a very controlled manner. I gotta check real quick. 12,000 people. I don't know.
It's a couple. Good morning, everybody.
You've been around YouTube, and it's like, why would 12,000 people show up to watch a live stream of a crane lifting a thing? I honestly don't know that this many people would have shown up if it wasn't SpaceX and if it wasn't Starship. That whole SpaceX making space cool again and sort of opening up, rekindling the public interest that maybe sort of was smoldering after the shuttle program was shut down. It's amazing that we have over 12,000 people watching now. Now, the thing is that it seems that only 2,000 of you like this. So, what, you have to watch at work or something, like the boss has assigned this. This is a homework assignment and somebody's forcing you to watch it. If you want to find your way back here, folks, you know how to click the like button, you know how to subscribe. This is what we do. We have both human-operated and robotic cameras that are deployed all over Starbase. We've got mobile cameras we can move around. We've got all sorts of different ways that we can share with you on a daily basis what's happening with the Starship development program in SpaceX down there at Boca Chica, Texas. And if you want to find your way back, you know where the subscribe button is on YouTube. Click it, turn the notifications on. Like we say, if we turn the stream on, it's because we have a very good inkling, a very good level of confidence that there's going to be something interesting for you to see. And we're here to answer questions. We're here to talk about, help explain what's going on in words that everyone can understand. I mean, everybody knows what chopsticks are, right? Now, how does that relate to this scene? I don't know. But hey, look at that. 3,500 likes. Apparently, we've woken up 1,500 people. So
I just like the idea of people saying, well, I'm not going to like the stream until I see this system working.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have standards to keep.
Well, I'm not sure if I like this. My interest is piqued, but I'm going to hold out the like for a little while here. Like, anyways, folks, we appreciate y'all joining us this morning. This is what we do. It's the fun. Texas Tank Watchers rock. Appreciate the Euros there. Again, got that super chat queue going, and it's y'all's support that allows us to continue to do this sort of thing. Very cool, though.
And right quick, looking like it's at a bit of a hold. It's got a little bit of rotation to it, but I think that they've stopped rotating Frankencrane, the crane that's going to move it over to the tower itself.
Yep.
I might hazard to go through some super chats right quick. We got a bit of a queue going already.
Yeah, go for it, I think.
Grant Huckstadt with $5 Australian. Thank you very much, Grant. Andrew R. Spherical Cat, DP Mex, HWM Hello Monkey, Corey Linnae, Carruthers, Lucas Sarandon with a new membership. Thank you very much, Lucas. David Lewis asking if all of the ground support equipment, is ready for an orbital test. I don't know if it's all ready yet, but it's getting there.
Yeah, they just installed that other methane tank, the horizontal methane tank that they rolled in. You can see it in this shot next to the big berm. The two horizontal tanks that are on the ground at the lower right? And I imagine that that's not completely plumbed in yet. I think they're going to sort of put those on concrete mounts. We saw some rebar and stuff like that being prepared yesterday. And so I don't think that we could say that all the ground support equipment is ready for an orbital test. I think there's still an awful lot of work that needs to be done before they're quite there. We just saw the last cryo shell get lifted yesterday as well, so it does take time to plumb that stuff in and finish it up after.
And the other cryo shell just the day before.
Yeah, just the day before, exactly. It's been a busy week at Starbase here, huh?
Carrying on with all of the super chats, Rockwell Torrey, Anthony Losgo, Jared ES, Grant Huckstadt, Scott Lehman with a new membership. Thank you very much, Scott. Carlos Otero, and then just a moment ago with a €50 super chat, Johnny Santoro asking, I'm wondering, I would expect the booster to quote-unquote land on the chopsticks with some margin of error, of course. How would it move it horizontally to match the launching pad?
Horizontally. Oh.
So I think he's talking about move, because it's going to be caught off the launch mount and then sort of move back over.
Yeah, I think that's going to be Elon described it as sort of a tank tread system. So we know there's sort of a hard point up at the top, and the understanding is that those will be able to move back and forth, and you can actually sort of slide the booster backwards and forwards along the chopsticks using like tank treads or rails or something. Now, are they hydraulically actuated? Are they electrically actuated? Is it a rubber tank tread? Is it a metal tank tread that's underneath something else? Like if you look at it from this angle here, and by the way, I love being able to do this. I mean, just saying, oh, if you look at it from this angle, right here, you can see the rails that are sort of on the inside. See the top? You get all the sort of tubular, triangular parts, but at the top, the inside top of each one of the chopsticks, there seems to be a big girder-looking rail. And it's our understanding that's what will be the contact point with the load pins, or the load points, I guess, on the booster or Starship. And how that exactly will move back and forth, will that entire rail move? Will there be something on top of that rail that sort of connects to those pins, or the pins rest on, and then that moves back and forth? I don't think we've seen the exact mechanism by which that'll actually move yet. But we know Elon's described it as tank treads, I think, right?
Yeah, that's
and that
correct.
system.
Also, I'd quickly add that question's really good, because if you imagine not just the catching, it's the stacking.
Yeah.
Because when they bring the two parts, which is the booster, the super heavy booster, and the Starship vehicle, they'll be side by side technically, and that's when they need to translate to the horizontal, bring it down, capture it, raise it, and then translate across for the stacking. So I think we'll see a lot of this during this first operation, which we hope is with Booster 4. Even if Booster 4 and Ship 20 don't fly, which we don't know, I mean, they might do, they might not. It's something where we probably should see Mechazilla being put into action for the first time during a stacking operation.
Yeah, it does need the degrees of freedom. It needs to go from, the booster is sitting next to the tower, so you need to swing over to one side and go down and pick it up. And then when you pick it up, it may not be completely exactly aligned with the orbital launch mount, so you might need to move it back and forward a little bit. You may need to rotate it a bit. I'm sure picking it up off the ground, you can start with the correct orientation, but if you've caught one, you may not catch it in the exact orientation needed to stack it back on the tower. So if those rails, or if the treads, I guess, moved in opposite directions, sort of like actual tank treads, you could actually turn the booster. You could rotate it, I guess it would be roll from the booster's perspective, to get it exactly aligned with the orbital launch mount itself, that platform there. So those degrees of freedom, I mean, it's going to go up and down, it's going to swing left and right, and I don't know the exact number of degrees. Is it going to be 90 degrees? Is it going to be slightly more than 90 degrees? It's more than 90 degrees if I had to guess, just based on where everything is situated. And it's going to have to be able to roll the booster and then move the booster back and forth. So it's got, what would that be, like 4 degrees of freedom? Up, down would be 1, yaw would be 2,
rotating,
back and forth would be 3, and rotating would be 4, yeah. So very cool. I guess it makes sense that you'd want sort of a larger, like a wider target contact patch on top as well. Like, imagine you had a little U-shaped cradle that was supposed to exactly be where the booster load points go, Well, that's okay if you're picking it up off the ground, but if you're trying to catch one, you may need a sort of a larger catcher's mitt, I guess, a larger target where you can actually hit those load points and catch it, knowing that still getting this massive booster aligned exactly with one little load point where you're supposed to catch it when it's coming out of the sky, falling back from having pushed a Starship on its way to orbit. I think you need a little bit of flexibility there, you know?
It just sounds like nonsense when you
what?
describe it. It's
what is this guy saying?
Oh, goodness. Can't wait. So right quick, we got some more super chats coming in. Bob with a $20 super chat. Thank you very much, Bob. Ron with a $5 super chat saying, please let people know about the public input that the FAA is seeking. There is a Zoom meeting today. And I tried looking quick to see if I could find a link to the Zoom meeting. But for anybody who, especially anybody who's local to the Chica area, the FAA is looking for input on the environmental assessment.
Yeah, they had one meeting already, and there was something like, what, 20-something, maybe 30 public comments. Some people dialed in. Some people were local. Some people were not local, like they didn't actually live there, but they dialed in from somewhere else at the first one, and there is another one going on. I think the FAA tweeted that out last time. Did they actually tweet out a link to that? I definitely saw links on Twitter on how to participate in that, but they were looking for comments. I mean, a lot of people supportive of what SpaceX is doing and in the vision and getting to Mars and being excited about space and revolutionizing spaceflight. And then, of course, had a couple people coming in with environmental concerns, ranging the entire spectrum of validity, I guess you could say. Is that an okay way to put it?
No, I think that's a great way to phrase it.
Yeah.
Checking out to see, it looks like it's mostly on a hold. It's not actually rotating anymore at this moment.
Again, y'all, one of the good things you could do is jump backward and forwards in the stream. That's actually how we check it sometimes. We watch our own stream and roll it back. Right? That's what you're doing, right, DK?
Yeah, it's just arrow keys. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you can sort of see some of that very slow motion if you just skip back some seconds and skip forward some seconds.
Will sound weird, but it'll look great.
Yeah. There it's rotating again just a little bit. I'm like leaning towards the monitor, like squinting at the pixels.
I know, right? It's just I don't know if it's really helpful to get that close to my monitor, but it makes me feel better. Trying to see if the movement at the end of those taglines down on the ground. All right, well, let's get to some more super chats, and new members are coming in as we are going here. Jeff Hollings and Montine Silva, thank you very much for the new members. That's amazing. From Surf's Up Robotics, another new membership as well. And then Doug McKnight, $5 super set. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you very much, Doug. And then Grant Huckstadt with another $5 Australian. Casper with Canadian $5. Thank you very much. So, I'm trying to understand this question. So, what happens if the booster approaches the chopsticks 90 degrees out where the catch lugs aren't over the chopsticks?
They shouldn't do that.
So, yeah, so if they miss, I guess, is the...
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if the booster is rolled into an incorrect orientation, I guess you could say, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they're going to have to not do that. They're going to need to hit the target, and if they're trying to catch it, they're going to need those load pins, load points, whatever you want to call it, to be in the right spot so that they can actually make contact with the chopsticks. The chopstick skids. I don't know.
I followed.
Yeah.
So some questions just from regular chat from Max Vanderstrict. It's going below the QD arm, right? Will it ever slide above it when the booster's landing? Oh, when the booster's landing. Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. We know that the QD arm swings out to the side, and I would need to use a camera to zoom in to remember if the rail system goes all the way to the top. like the carriage wouldn't be able to go any higher than the rail system goes. And I don't want to say it wrong. I know that we did this before because somebody specifically asked, and we took the camera all the way to the top of the tower and we saw where the rail system sort of originated. But I think that it can go most of the way to the top of the tower because it's got to lift Starship, right?
Yeah.
So if they're going to use it to put Starship, and the load points on Starship are underneath the forward flaps, this is going to have to go almost all the way to the top of the tower. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that the rail system, like when we zoomed in before, the rail system goes all the way up because if they're going to stack the Starship, they need it to go all the way up.
Yeah, so it would certainly have to go past that QD arm. I guess I don't know the exact mechanics of how that would be, other than to say that the QD arm is sort of attached in a way that would not obstruct the chopsticks at all.
Yes, it's actually attached to sort of the back quadrant, I guess you could say. It's not the front 3 pillars, but it's actually between the back pillar that's away from the orbital launch mount, and then I guess you could call it the right-hand pillar.
There you go.
But yeah, it is designed in a wacky way. If you look at it, you're like, why is that way? But it's that way because the carriage actually needs to sort of skate past the QD, or the carriage needs to skate past the QD arm. I'm trying to see if I can't get that view for you, DK. Let's see here.
With the QD arm?
Yeah, right here. There you go. I got cameras.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, there's the QD arm. That's how far over it is swung out of the way right now.
Yeah, and it's a little bit hard to see. Just I don't want to move in the other camera that we're doing a time lapse with, but the QD arm is actually attached to this side of the tower that's closer to this shot here, and it sort of goes around the edge of the tower to reach the Starship that's on the other side. And that carriage can skate past it, but it's... let me see if I can get a better shot of exactly how that works. And that was the QD arm, in that shot that was the QD arm you were seeing, the quick disconnect arm.
Yeah.
That has,
from that shot you cannot see the chopsticks themselves.
Yeah, it's really low. You can see the lines going down to it, but that mesquite scrub is just in the way for where they're working on that. This camera's going to grow next time I get down to Boca.
There you go. Good question, though. Thank you very much, Max. That was a good one. James Falcon asking, what are those red structures in the ground? I believe they're talking about, I don't know if we have the sort of internal name that SpaceX had been using, but that was what the chopsticks had previously been resting on. Because they're sort of a funny shape, so it takes a little bit to have them be oriented sort of up and down while they were attaching everything.
I saw somebody in chat come up with a great name for them. They said we should call them the uneven bars.
That's what they look like. No, that's a great name. Yeah.
Yeah, they look exactly like Olympic, like gymnastic uneven bars or whatever. So.
All right, the uneven bars.
But again, those red structures were temporary structures that they used to actually assemble the chopsticks because of the weird shape, like the shape of the carriage, and then the triangles underneath, and the shape of the arms sticking out. That's why they're uneven. The top arms of the carriage were resting on the higher uneven bar. I'm just going to burn that in everybody's memory. And the lower bar in the forward is actually where the chopsticks, like the bottom of the chopsticks, were resting. So I like it. Good name.
Some more super chats coming in. We've got one from, let's see. Well, here's one that's great from James Brennan for £8.99. It's not just SpaceX making this stuff cool to watch on YouTube. NSF is playing a big part in making this accessible to everyone. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you very much, James. Thank you for hanging out with us here and for the extra support.
And real quick, y'all, Chris Bergen has had to pop off here. He's definitely watching what's going on, but he's off commentary. Massive thanks to Chris for hopping in here at the start of the stream. It's just one of those things. It's like, who's on standby to hop onto commentary? And we never know when the lift is going to happen. Oh, maybe tomorrow morning, you know, when it gets light outside or whatever. And big thanks to Chris Bergen for joining us there for a little while. You may hear his accent again this evening whenever we get into the static fire, because unless the clerk that updates the website has snuck something past me, I think we still have the road closures for the static fire this
I think we still have
evening.
2 road closures from the static fire.
double road closures. And yeah, there we go. I was just confirming real quick. Mary did receive the alert notice as well, the overpressure alert notice for a static fire October 20th.
Yep.
Yeah, 5 p.m. to midnight. So we do have maybe that's what we were guessing yesterday. Like yesterday, they got this going. They got it in the air, the chopsticks and the carriage, and they were spending that time leveling it, making sure the rigging was all ready to go. But they sort of raced the sunset there. And they were running out of time in the day where you didn't want to get halfway through this process, then have the sun go down and be out here trying to do this in the dark. So we saw them put it back down, and we figured they were going to start this lift early in the morning so that they have plenty of time, both daylight to work, and then also plenty of time before the road closure, the static fire window opens, so that they're not slowing down that static fire on Ship 20.
So Das, I'm going to interrupt you for just a second here. Looking like the crane is actually backing up a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, so if you do sort of scrub through it again, that crane is slowly creeping backwards.
No kidding. See if I can't...
Pretty gradually, but it is
Sometimes,
definitely moving.
Yeah, you look at this and look at the rear arm on the crane there versus the tower. I mean, theoretically the tower shouldn't be moving. If it is, we got bigger problems. But sometimes you can sort of see really slow motions like that with these more zoomed in shots.
Yeah,
But
I think it's just sort of fine-tuning that alignment to get it exactly where it needs to be as they prepare to rotate it into place.
Yep, makes
And by
sense.
rotate it into place, I mean the crane's going to rotate it.
Yep. And it looks like
chopsticks
it's like a story or two higher than the skates right now. In this shot, you can actually see the skates attached to the rails on the tower there. The black mechanisms of the skates, they actually look like ski boots, or like where your boots clip into the skis, I guess is really the right thing. You can see them on the rails of the tower there, so they've lifted it a little bit higher than that, probably to clear the orbital launch mount, the orbital launch platform there.
All right, y'all, flipping through all of the comments. Make sure you do tag at NASASpaceflight with any questions that you have, and then we'll be able to see it a little bit easier. Otherwise, it might be hard for me to catch it. Sometimes I will, but not always. Chris asking, are they adjusting their assembly strategy due to the wind? I mean, that's certainly true minimally in that they're lifting today and didn't lift yesterday. As the day goes on down there in Boca Chica, the wind tends to pick up.
Yep.
Versus in the morning. So you'll see them do a lot of lifts early in the morning just so that they have to deal with less wind.
Yeah,
you know that firsthand.
Yeah, they snuck one lift past us. They had one of the tower sections, and we knew that it was rigged, and we knew they were working on it. And we're like, oh yeah, okay, they'll probably wait till it gets light, and then they'll get the lift going. And they started as soon as it got light. Like first thing in the morning, the winds were nice and calm. I was actually at Boca, and I rolled over in bed, and it's, well, maybe slightly disgusting, but I roll over in bed, and the first thing I do is check the Starbase live cameras to make sure everything's cool. It's literally my job, okay?
Yeah,
like sometimes I'm checking the Starbase live cameras before I'm even out of bed, and just making sure I don't need to rush out of bed to fix something. And I checked it, and I'll be darned if that tower segment wasn't already all the way up the tower, and I'm like, what? It's not even bright outside yet. What are they doing here? But they do like getting started early in the morning and not wasting any daylight. Never again. Never again. I had so many, you should see my phone. I had so many alarms set this morning so we wouldn't miss a lift.
Yeah, same. So we got a good one from Small Town Guy 3. It's saying this is probably Franken Crane's swan song, which could be possible. We don't really know at this point, but I will say that another tower is planned.
Yeah.
So that we're going to be seeing more lifts in the fullness of time, as sort of, in terms of what that schedule looks like. We don't really have that information as yet.
Right. They do, the plans, the schematics, the FAA stuff that they submitted do show 2 towers, like 2 orbital tank farms, 2 orbital launch mounts, 2 towers, 2 chopstick systems, 2 yada yada yada. But are they going to get a couple flights under their belts before they start building that? Are they going to start pouring the foundations right now? Because I mean, it's years worth of work. It's not like somebody got up last Wednesday and they're like, well, I don't know, let's just toss up a tower. I mean, they've been preparing for this, pouring the foundations for that orbital launch mount. I think it was like 2+ years ago when they started that.
Yeah.
You know, we really need like a quick reference card that says like, here's when they started this and here's when they start that. I need one of those on my desk because I
That's
never
actually
want to
not a bad plan.
Yeah. I'll just print it out and I'll like tape it next to my monitor and it's like, orbital launch mount foundation poured here. That would actually be really useful. I mean, we know we have the footage of it happening, so.
That's true. So looking like the crane is still creeping backwards a little bit.
Oh.
Which is hard to see on that right side, but on the left side of the screen that you're looking at right now, pretty evident.
Yep. I really wonder, like, looking from here, if they creep backwards, it's almost like the boom was giving them too much reach. Like, as they rotated over, it was giving them a little bit too much room. Like it's reaching over past where they needed to be. And so now they're maybe backing up to get that alignment, because look at the alignment. We're almost looking straight down the jaws of the chopsticks here. I don't know if that's normally a term one would use, but whatever. And you can see we're a little bit off center, but maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're trying to line up that black main axis of the chopstick and carriage assembly with that forward pillar of the tower, because that's where those things are supposed to sort of match up. This is another reason people ask, you know, why don't they use the tower cranes? If you've ever seen them building a building in the city or something like that, they have sort of the fixed position tower cranes. And this is not a tower crane. This is a crawler crane. And I know that the load capabilities are different. These sorts of cranes, making the use of triangles instead of right angles, can carry more. And then also they give you that flexibility to actually crawl the pivot point, move the pivot point of the crane around, which you can't do with one of those fixed tower cranes. We've seen quite a few people say, oh, why didn't they just install a tower crane right next to the tower as they were building it? And the flexibility of moving these cranes around is, I think, one reason that they opted for this. Maybe coupled with the fact that the other cranes just couldn't even handle the loads that they were looking at. I think we're getting really close to the point where the carriage arms are actually on either side of the pillar. I don't think we're quite there yet. We're approaching the koala position, I guess. I'm going to knock out just a couple more super chats here real quick. Jacob Riddle says, I saw the tank treads in Austria myself. They're very beautiful, and I hope they're for Mechazilla. Greetings from Austria. Jacob, if you're talking about the transport that we saw that had the SpaceX logo on the big treads, I believe those weren't the type of treads we're talking about here for Mechazilla. I think that those were treads for a crawler crane. It was like SpaceX had ordered their own crawler crane. These cranes are rented. They're like leased, I guess. And when you do that, you get like the crane operators and all the support equipment and all this sort of stuff, right? But it looked like that might have been for a slightly smaller crane that SpaceX had maybe purchased, because they tend to brand the cranes when they own the cranes. They'll put the big SpaceX logo. You'll see some of the SpaceX logos on the cranes around there. But I don't think, if you're talking about that picture over in Europe that was the big tread-looking assembly on the transport that had the SpaceX logo on the side, I think that was a crane part. That was not a part for the chopsticks or the Mechazilla assembly. Blue Mod, thanks for becoming a pad rat, joining the membership program there. That's one way you can help support us. You can get some emotes and stuff like that. We've got cool little features based on what level you are. High enough levels, I think it's the top 2 or 3 levels, you get access to Discord. See, that's another thing that could be on the cheat sheet. Just going to toss that out there. But thank you so much for the support. We've got Johnny asking, what insulation is between the shell and the tank? We've seen lots of speculation on that, but we haven't, I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't seen like a truck filled with perlite or something like that. I guess we've seen trucks filled with nitrogen, but I've only seen speculation. I don't know that I've seen them actually put anything in the space between the GSE tanks, like the stainless steel containers, and the shells, the white shells that they put on the outside. Post up in chat if you have any other information. I mean, I see a lot of what goes on at Starbase, but I don't know everything. So post up if I haven't seen that yet. The sad thing is, it might have been in a daily video, and I don't memorize every single thing that I see. But it feels like that might be something I would have noticed. Grant, thank you so much from Australia. Appreciate the support there. We get this question a lot. KN Benner says, why the new horizontal methane tanks when they put all the work into making the vertical methane tanks? Not exactly sure. We don't have 100% the clear answer. It would probably come from Elon on that. But it may be that that was additional capacity that they always planned to be there on the ground. If you look at it, those two ground methane tanks are almost the same height as the berm. And was that berm intentional? Is that how they designed it? They've always been mean to there. Is it some sort of methane recapture system? Are those temporary tanks, was it faster to put in sort of commercially built tanks to get going with the orbital launch mount while you continue to work on the rest of the orbital farm? Something with your methane tanks needs more work or something like that. We don't know the official answer. All we can really do is speculate there. So... and this is why I asked. Some strongly believe the bags of perlite are being pumped in the cryo shells. We've never gotten a clear picture of that process happening. So that's why I ask. That's why I ask. And I'll sort of see if I can't get more information on that myself. But a lot of stuff going on. Let's see here. Dennis, aka Mordig, I don't know, nobody's going to pay attention to me, but I have to try. Tank treads have been shown on YouTube for a month or more. Search for tread with SpaceX on the side. Again, if you're talking about the thing that I know about, I think that you're talking about a crane part. That's not the treads that we're actually talking about for the chopstick system. Now, I may be wrong. I didn't see a label on them that said not for chopsticks or anything like that. But if I'm thinking about the same thing you're thinking about, that was the traditional crawler crane tank tread design, actually, design that we saw in those photos. I don't know if we're talking about the same thing there, Mordug. But thank you for the support. Not trying to misuse. Sometimes people say stuff like that into chat, and it's almost impossible to read the entire chat 24/7. Or even just during a stream to read every single message that comes through. But if I don't see your message, it's not because I'm ignoring you. It's just because there's a lot of chat messages. Let's see here. Almost at the end of the super chat queue. So, how far can the chopsticks swivel left-right before they're too far off above the OLP for a booster to be caught? Is a stationary crane on top a plan? Early renders, Avon, early renders saw the booster actually being moved around by a crane on top of the tower, and then eventually that crane was sort of gotten rid of. They decided that they weren't going to go with that. We know that the top of the tower is not designed to support such a crane. We haven't seen any recent renderings that include such a crane. That was sort of like an original concept rendering of how Starship, Super Heavy, ITS, Mars Colonial Transport, like whatever it was called at the time, that was like a concept, but we haven't seen any indication that a big tower crane was going to be installed on the top of the tower itself. The crane was going to be the chopsticks here. And then as for how far back and forth they can swing, I don't know the exact degrees off the top of my head. I think that it's probably slightly more or less than like somewhere around 90 degrees. But again, I'm literally looking at this scene right now and saying, well, it's got to pick it up from the side of the tower over here when they're integrating a booster, and then it's got to maybe catch it from the other side of the tower. And so does it have to sort of swing back and forth? That's just a guess, but I can't tell you. Oh, it's exactly 87.3 degrees. Haven't seen that schematic. And I do actually, James, watch the chat directly. It's just that I don't read every single message that's in chat. So let's see here. A couple more. Ghost Rider. Perlites in the white bags near the tank farm. The crane that SpaceX ordered should be an LR 1100, the same as Bucky. There we go. Thanks, Ryan. Thank you for the information. So there is perlite on site somewhere. It is, like we've seen a label saying, this is perlite really big. Or it looks like a bag that we think is perlite. And they're ordering their own crane. That's what we were sort of talking about, those treads that people have spotted for an LR 11,000 actually. Don't undersell the crane. The same as that Bucky, the big yellow crane that we see here in that shot. We call that crane Bucky. It's from Buckner, which is a crane, like a heavy lift transport and operations company, actually based up the road from me here in North Carolina. And on the side of the crane, it says Buckner, real big, and red logo. And so every now and then, we don't call that the 11,000, we call that Bucky, just because faster to say than 11,000. So anyways. Oh, geez, don't tell me that. Closure canceled. Really? Hang on, I'm going to verify that. I actually shouldn't have said it out loud first. But it's only a click away for me to check out what Cameron County says for SpaceX. Oh, buddy. Well, it does look like that's confirmed, y'all. That the Cameron County website has canceled both. It's actually only listing one now, but the closure for Wednesday, October 20th has been canceled. Wonder what's going on with the static fire there. I mean, I breathe a heavy sigh, right? But they do their test schedule not at our whims, but when the vehicle's ready to be tested. And they have another secondary date tomorrow. Oh, actually, that's listed as a primary date now. Interesting. Here we go. Let me bring that up for y'all real quick so that we can just show what I'm talking about. And here, online, 77%. There we go. You can see the public notice of Cameron County order to temporarily close State Highway 4. I mean, it's just a website, y'all. And you can see that here's today's date, Wednesday, October 20th, 2021. Going to be highlighted right there. And unfortunately, closer canceled. I'm being lazy. I shouldn't be lazy. I should do it like this. There you can see today's date, Wednesday, October 20th. Right like that. And you can see over here that they have updated the website to say the closure is canceled. So even though we got that alert notice to Mary, and we had actually seemingly erroneous duplicates for October 20th on there, the update to the website currently says that the closure for a static fire tonight has been canceled, which means I lost the bet. See, I said I would get up early and do the lift stream so that Michael could stay up late and do the static fire stream, and now, well, I guess he doesn't have to do that. Good times. Let's see here. Thank you, Andre DC on Twitter, for replying to our detractors. It seems like quite a few people have responded with some information. Somebody, look, I tweeted out this morning, y'all, and I was like, oh, you know, hey, we're on console, we're standing by for a potential lift for installation of the chopsticks on the tower this morning, etc., etc. And of course, somebody on Twitter is like, well, actually, you can't say that they're going to install it. And I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, I can't guarantee it's going to happen, but I probably wouldn't have tweeted it unless, you know, I woke up at 6 o'clock to make sure we didn't miss it. Well, maybe we'll take a screenshot when these are actually installed, and then I'll be like, okay. I keep on grabbing some super chats. Ted S., will NSF create any more of the 360 Starbase drives? That's something Jack did. When Jack was down there, he had one of those 360 cameras and did a drive-through. That was Jack's camera, though, so it went back with him. We don't actually have a 360 camera down there full-time right now. But if that's the sort of thing that people enjoy, it's certainly something that's possible. You know, the video, it's a recorded video, but you can sort of like point the camera on your own and like look around as the video plays. Not a terrible idea. see here. Musical Wolves. Was yesterday a chopstick takeout instead of stakeout? Yesterday was sort of the stakeout, and today was the takeout, maybe is the right way to phrase it. Appreciate the support, Musical Wolves. David Kerrigan, thank you for being a pad rat. Appreciate the support. And we've got Curtis Green joining the red team. Again, folks in the membership program, that's a huge way to support us. $5 from David as well. Thanks, David, for the $5. Jackie Ward Watchers Club. Okay. Thank you for the support as well. And then here, Tim Cosham. Tim, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. I gave it my best shot. I hope I got your name correct there. But says, never thought I would be one to watch a stream like yours. Not in a million years, but I've been hooked all year. Great work, NASA Spaceflight. Tim, I appreciate you saying that. I really think that it sort of speaks to the excitement of the program here. Like, they're doing cool stuff that people are interested in. And I hope that part of it is also the fact that we're not the news. You know, we're not, and now we're going to watch today the today the carriage assembly was attached to the, like, that's not how we are. We're normal people. We're excited about this as well. We have a specific set of skills that make it possible for us to share this with you. But we're here. We get a kick out of this. We have fun, and I hope that comes across in our live streams and just the sound of my voice sometimes. You know what I mean? So thank you so much for saying that. Never thought I would be one to watch a stream like yours. Not in a million years, but you've been hooked all year. Tim, thanks so much for the support there. And then let's see here. Until now, the exact orientation of a landing booster didn't matter. This is from Roland. And Roland is saying, I believe those load points can't be final design. You're a few degrees off and the booster will just sip through. Should be a load ring. While that's an interesting idea, if you have 360-degree coverage where you can sort of catch the booster, so it could be in any sort of roll orientation, you also completely destroy your ability to laterally translate. So slide side to side or hover side to side or even come in with any sort of lateral velocity. So I don't expect we'll ever see a load ring simply because the booster's not coming straight down. I think that the booster's actually going to, you know, come in at a little bit of an angle as it approaches the chopsticks. I don't know that it'll ever hover directly sideways like we see in the Blue Origin New Shepard, you know, the little suborbital tourist rocket. That thing can hover around the pad, but I don't think we're going to see hovering from a super heavy booster, especially not lateral translation while hovering. I would be very surprised if we saw that. Just for the efficiency of fuel use, like you're burning a lot of fuel per second every second you have those engines on, and I have a feeling that booster's not going to quite do like an instantaneous, we'd refer to it as a suicide burn, where it like comes to a stop at the exact right position, coming straight down. But I imagine that it's going to come in at with a little bit of horizontal velocity and sort of slot into those arms. So you couldn't do that with a ring. It'll be very interesting to see. I think they may have some ability to rotate, like you'll have a little bit of leeway to rotate. You know, if you rotate too far, the pins will miss the rails on the chopsticks. What a ridiculous sentence to say. But I have a feeling that they'll have a little bit of tolerance there, but not a lot. You're not going to be able to rotate like 30 degrees out of the proper orientation and still hit those rails. I think your load points will miss then. So you know, I don't know. Elon doesn't like to put parts on boosters, but if anything, I think that it might be a good idea to add more load points to the booster itself, so that you had more of an opportunity to maybe catch 2 load points or something like that instead of just 1. Of course, I don't know that you'd want to catch 2 on one side and 1 on the other and then have sort of an imbalance there in the support. But it may be a good idea that to add more load points on the booster itself, so that if it's not exactly perfectly aligned, that's okay. I don't know. I know that Elon does not like adding parts to the booster. That's how we got to the chopstick system in the first place, because why carry landing legs on the booster? That is non-fuel mass that takes away from your delta V. The bang you get out of the rocket, like how much capacity the rocket has to push payloads into orbit, basically, is delta V. But
so Das,
hey,
hi. It's looking like we've got some lifts going up towards the connection points up there.
Yep. I wonder if they haven't got it all the way back to the tower. And yesterday we saw them actually sort of cranking on it. Remember, they were cranking in it, and it looked like they were actually opening up the carriage arms, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they're not going to get back into position. We'll see somebody up there cranking on it again. Let's see if I can't find
Interesting.
a view
Yes,
of
let's see if
that,
we have
perhaps.
another angle. It's hard to tell from this side, sort of even how close it is to the tower.
Yeah. I mean,
Is
look at that.
real close. Is the
Nick's-
answer.
Nick's got a great angle there. This is a camera that Nick is pointing right now. And you can see that those carriage arms are almost all the way back to the skates. Very cool.
Interesting. $5 super chat from Rich F. asking, it may have been addressed, but how will the booster be moved in or out on the chopsticks if it lands closer or farther out from the tower? From Elon, tank treads. It'll essentially just be sort of carted back and forth along those chopsticks if they, to make up for a margin of error. And also potentially to rotate it and change the orientation while it's going onto the orbital launch mod as well. And as well as a $5 super chat from Matthew Lyman asking, could the grid fins be outfitted to be used as load points if necessary? Certainly wouldn't be optimal. Like we said, there's two small hard points underneath the grid fins of the booster, and that is what it is going to be caught by. Those grid fins, if a situation ever arises where it ends up having to be caught by those grid fins, that is not optimal and a failure state.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday where theoretically could a grid fin support the booster? I mean, maybe an empty booster hanging from the grid fins, but I don't believe that that is the intention. Like if you missed the pin, would it be possible that the booster could be caught by the grid fins, or would it just, rip the grid fins off and continue onto the ground? I have a feeling that it might be possible, but definitely not nominal.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be walking around underneath the thing.
I think in an emergency, they could try to. I don't know how well they would hold.
I think it would be an
they're not
emergency if they tried to.
Yeah, they're not meant to be load bearing in any way, but. And then also one from Gabriel Rodriguez asking, how do the chopsticks disconnect from the ship after integration? Does it go above it? Can it go to the side? I think it would just. Am I correct in saying that the plan is to open up?
I
to
think
be out of the way?
I think so. I think that they do. There's going to have some sort of actuation to open them up a bit. I don't think we've seen that yet, but it could just be buried in there. Like I just haven't gotten eyes on it. But I think they are supposed to move up or move like open and close a bit. I hope they are at least. Like that's really tight tolerances if you have to like put the booster in between those two arms. But we've talked about that, like how quickly will they actuate? Is it really like these things are going to be closing as the booster approaches, or how exactly does it work out? We don't know the exact plan yet.
All right, flipping through some of the questions. Make sure that you do tag us at NASASpaceflight if you have any questions, and then hopefully we'll be able to get to them. Look at that there now.
Yeah. You can see how the arms are designed to go right over the orbital launch mount.
Yeah.
Like, just imagine a booster being in the middle there. And, of course, the arms would need to be up higher if they were actually picking the booster up. But look at that. I like how they put the orbital tank farm just out of the way. Like, can you imagine if the orbital tank farm was, like, 2 tanks to the right from this shot and we couldn't actually see anything?
yeah, we have just the right angle there.
Yeah. We may or may not have been looking at the site plans before we put this camera out. Cameras don't just appear in the field, y'all. There is quite a bit of planning that goes into figuring out where these things are supposed to end up. A lot of work to make this possible.
Do a good job. So, just sort of looking at the movement, seeing how everything is being framed here. Or not framed, excuse me, how everything is sort of aligning. It's got a little bit of movement, but it doesn't look like it is at present. Is it being lowered a little bit?
Let's see.
Yeah, looking at it, it's being lowered just very, very gradually.
Yeah, it looks like from this angle, the arms are closer to the skates. And then the scene melted.
Great.
Oops, sorry.
You're good. Great comment from Peter just now in chat that I saw. It's like watching the Apollo program being built live.
Yeah. It really is cool.
Yeah.
It really is cool.
All right, £5 super chat coming in from Doc Watson asking, do you think that the tank farm is prone to damage / destruction if a catch, quote unquote, fails? First off, we absolutely don't want that to happen. There is definitely some amount of danger depending on how poorly it might fail, because the booster, if it has any residual fuel at all, can still cause quite a bit of damage. So we've got, in the instance that it does end up going over by the tank farm, obviously it could do some damage, but it's never something you want to hope for. It absolutely could.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what it comes down to. Would not be nominal. Oh, we had this, someone talking about this earlier. It doesn't have anything to do with the lift, but Frankie asking, is it possible for a vacuum raptor to work as a backup if a sea level raptor does not work for some reason on a re-entry burn? So, as far as it being able to be used, it definitely could technically fire it, but I feel like it would not be able to have as much lift as those sea level ones would need. In the same way that we had sort of asked how a sea level raptor would work in vacuum, so would it also work the other way? Which is to say that it could, but it would not be particularly efficient fuel-wise. Joe, flipping on some questions here. Whoop, looking like we've got a bit of a reframe there. Look at that. Okay, so we can see the skate on the sides of the tower, the sort of the pillar of that tower, the two skates on either side, and that little black structure with the W on it. That is the actual end of the carriage. Oh, ground control had a great comment in talking about those other Raptor engines, that the vacuum Raptors cannot gimbal, which is absolutely true as well.
We're going to work on the exposure on that camera real quick. Sorry, y'all.
Yeah, you're good. I'm just going to read some questions.
Yeah. See, I told you we'd fix it.
There you go.
Thanks, Nick.
Look
Nick
at that.
can hear me. Again, y'all, hey, massive thanks to Mary, Boca Chica Gal, and Nick. They've deployed multiple cameras out there for us, and they help us keep the robotic cameras running, the ones that are sort of unattended, outstanding in their fields. And massive thanks for them to both rolling out super early this morning so that we could have all these different views in angles and get zoomed in and all sorts of stuff so we can see what's going on here with the chopstick installation. Just massive thanks to Nick and Mary.
Flipping through some more questions here, y'all. Oh, interesting. So this one, boy, Das, I don't know if you maybe know something that I don't, but Wolfie 1970 asking, will they have counterweights on the launch tower or wires to help offset the weight of Starship and Booster? I don't think that there's any kind of counterbalance system planned. I think that it is just sort of the weight of the structure itself, and then also it being sort of concreted into the ground.
Yeah, we've seen the huge drawworks, but I don't think we've seen massive counterweights that are going to go up and down the tower. I don't know that we've even seen like tracks for that or anything like that. It seems like it would make sense to balance out the weight of the, at the very least, to balance out the weight of the chopstick assembly itself. But I don't know that I've seen that mechanism in play yet.
Love that close-up shot on this right side there.
Yeah.
That is where it will be connected.
12 contact points like that. The skates, there's supposed to be 12 skates on the tower. 2 per attach point, like rails on either side of the pillar, like you see. And then there's 3 upper ones and 3 lower ones. So I was a little concerned when I looked this morning. They were actually, they had some of those skates removed. And I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I saw that. You said that there was one removed, and I was like, oh, okay, we've got lots of time before a lift could possibly happen, right?
That's what I told you. I was like, yeah,
not so much.
Coffee, no big deal. And then all of a sudden...
Oh, goodness. Here's an astute observation from Maker's Ease. A counterweight would add mass, so it's probably not something that would help for a fast reaction. So I wasn't really thinking of a counterweight on the chopsticks themselves so much as on the tower.
Like the opposite side. So, you know, like an elevator, the weight goes down when the elevator goes up, and really the mechanism for the elevator is just moving nothing. I mean, not really moving nothing because inertia, whatever, but it's a lot easier because it's just balanced out, you know?
From Mr. Hexen, who's got a $5 super chat here saying, so are they really going to duplicate all this on an oil rig? So now they've purchased 2 oil rigs, correct?
Yes, two offshore platforms, yeah.
Yeah.
And they've been working on stripping those down to bare bones, and Elon has talked about launching and landing, basically operating the Starship system from offshore platforms.
So I can't imagine what that build operation might look like.
Yeah.
Even more complicated than what we've got going here. I don't know that there's any plans for a tower in a similar way. I don't know if that is as yet publicly available.
On an oil on one of the offshore platforms?
Yeah, for one of the offshore platforms. I called them oil platforms before, which is what they were.
They used to be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're repurposing them.
Yeah, I guess the trick is if you're going to launch Starships from there, right, you need a way to stack a Starship. And so you need some sort of large crane thing that is taller than the Starship stack to actually stack the things up. And if you've got that, that's basically 50% of what this tower is supposed to do. And why not also try to catch them in the same manner if you're using this exact same type of mechanism? So assuming that you're going to be launching from there, and I guess assuming that you need to stack the Starship on top of the Super Heavy in order to launch, and to do that you need the tower or you need some sort of crane or something like that, you could probably reasonably walk yourself into the assumption that they would also build a tower and catch system on the offshore platforms. Now, that's a great idea, but it wasn't one of the things that Elon was concerned about right now. When he was directly asked, he said, we're not even worried about the oil platforms or the offshore platforms right now. Like, we're working on this stage 0, we're focusing on Starship, we're focusing on the orbital launch. And of course I'm sort of paraphrasing there. That's not exactly an exact quote. Words to that effect. How's that?
Looking like, I was just scrubbing through the footage again that we have just from today. Looking like it's slowly being inched closer and closer, very, very gradually over the past 5 or 6 minutes or so.
Gotcha.
Which is wild to think about how precise you would have to be with such an enormous object.
Yeah. All the forces acting on it. It's
Yeah.
amazing to try and comprehend.
Even just a gust of wind, you can have a real bad day. $5 super chat from Ted Holland saying, "You guys are great. Keep up the good work." Hey, Das, keep up the good work, buddy.
Hey, DK, you're doing great.
Hey, thanks. Oh,
Don't mind us just reading chat messages.
yeah. All right, flipping through chat here. Let's see, €5 from Merton Bulst asking, could they maybe use the QD arm for counterweight? I mean, I don't think that that would in any way be the plan. I don't, because of sort of the, oh wow, not to interrupt, it looks like we've got, I can see a pin now on the carriage, and I don't know if I just didn't notice it before.
They've had
I was sort of looking at the structure much more broadly.
Yeah.
That that U-pin.
It looked like they had some of the equipment already sort of hanging out where they were going to need to install these things. So I would not be surprised if that's an important piece of connecting it up. There you can see the lifts that are up there working as well.
Yeah, they got one on both sides there of those carriage arms.
Yep.
Goodness, just again, we talked earlier today about the scale of everything, and it is absolutely staggering just how large the whole structure is. Real quick, y'all, we've got now 16,000 people watching. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. We're looking at here is the chopstick arms and carriage being mounted on to the orbital launch tower. What you're seeing right now, that little black structure on that tower is what will eventually catch super heavy booster. Catch, yeah, just catch it, easy. Oh goodness.
Yeah, DK, I'm working on a thing. So
yeah.
if you need me to,
I'm flipping through.
If I miss something, like say it out loud. If something occurs, because I'm not watching those cameras closely. I'm working on one other thing to sort of show what we've seen so far.
Yeah. I like this one. $5 super chat from Chris Engel. Can't wait to see the first booster/ship trust falls. What a great team building exercise it will be for all of them. Oh, good grief.
The booster ship trust fall.
Richard Wilkerson as well with a $5 super chat with a very good observation. Just if they had to take a guess, they canceled the static fire for today to make sure that the chopsticks and carriage system are fully attached. And that could very well be where they're just sort of giving themselves enough time to get it all situated. Brent Bestwick in chat saying 16K watching and only 6,000 likes. That's a good point. Don't forget to hit the like button. It does help us out. If you're liking what you're seeing, if you're a fan of SpaceX, flipping through some more super chats here. We've got one from Terry Heaton. The chopsticks go up and down using the winch that's at the bottom of the tower via a huge pulley at the top of the tower. So the weight's irrelevant. I think so. I was sort of feeling from a, you don't want it to have so much weight at the end of those chopsticks that it can actually sort of cantilever. And that's what we're talking about with the weight of the tower itself, and then also just it being cemented into the ground.
And plus, I mean, counterweights are a normal thing. Like, instead of actually trying to lift the entire weight, you just have gravity help you out. And then you make up the difference. So, you know, you want to lift 100,000 pounds on one side, you put 100,000 pounds on the other side, and they just sort of go up and down on the pulley, and you just have to give them a nudge. Versus having the drawworks capable of carrying the 100,000 pounds just by pulling on the ground, basically. Counterweight systems like that and pulley systems like that are pretty normal things, but you know, are they going to use it here? We don't know that they're going to use it here, but I think it's a fair thing to wonder about, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I like this one. $10 Australian from Tom in Space. Stage 0 is really coming together now. How far we've come from tents in a paddock. As always, big thanks to Mary and Nick. Yeah, Mary and Nick out in the field helping us out with some of these camera angles. I think that's Nick on the right now, right? That close-in view?
Yes, on the right, that's a camera operated by Nick out there, and then the left one is one of our long-range beach cameras.
Let's see here. I'm just going to go through and see if we can see any movement. Looks like just a little bit of wiggle and wobble in the wind here, but nothing necessarily forwards or backwards. All right, $20 super chat from Brian Matzek. Brian, thank you very much for the $20 super chat. And see, Brian Miller observing that we've got men climbing inside the tower. I think that we've got crew in the tower right now. They've been there for a little while. We can see some movement sort of through the holes that we're seeing in the little gaps that we can see through the tower. All right, new membership from No Kidding. Thank you very much for that new membership. Appreciate you. All right, flipping through the comments here. Let's see. So we've got, let's see, I'm gonna ask this question, maybe Das, I don't know if you have maybe no more information than me. It's from Andrew McQueen saying, in regard to the chopstick mechanism to move the booster in and out, Felix from WAI says it's a linear drive system with movable plates and not a tank tread. I don't know.
We've seen different stuff. I mean, Elon has used the terminology tank tread, and until Elon uses something else or we see it in motion, you know. I mean, next thing up, I'm going to try to say that it's a water tower. So, not sure exactly on that, but anybody who's been following for a lifetime, the water tower joke is a very old joke. When originally the massive pilings for what we knew were to be the orbital launch mount were misidentified as the base for a water tower simply because they were canted in a little bit. So it's a long time joke. If you've been around for a while, there were some people out there that thought that they were making a big water tower base in what was going to be the orbital launch mount for the booster to sit on. So in any event, that's what we've been talking about. Like we've heard that terminology used. But then, is it going to be something else? I want to see it in motion, and then we can say, yeah, here's what it was. So,
one of the things that we try
from Elon, you know, Elon, if you're watching, you know, just add me on Twitter. Let us know how that's supposed to work. But
one of the things we do try to shy away from is any sort of speculation. If we don't yet know 100% what it is, or haven't heard exactly from SpaceX or from an Elon tweet or what have you, exactly what it is.
And it bites you sometimes, because Elon will say one thing, and then we'll say, well, this is what we're going by, but then it may end up being something else. It's just, trying to be accurate. It's tough to not get official word from SpaceX on exactly what's happening, and then sort of have to divine this by observing everything. But it does make sense. I mean, it could very well be a different system than a tank tread, because we don't see any obvious tank treads on top of those big support rails. So...
yeah, well, whatever it is not installed. We can put it that way.
Maybe it's hidden in the structure or something like that.
That's a good point too. Maybe it is installed.
Underneath.
We just haven't exactly been able to see it.
Yeah. But again, just keep an eye out. And anytime I say something, I'm either going to tell you, well, here's why I think this, right? Because I've been looking at this, or we've seen them do this before, or whatever. Like, why did we go live yesterday when there was going to be a lift? Oh, you went live. You said there was going to be a lift, and there wasn't a lift. Well, we saw them lift it up, and we know from past experience that sometimes when they lift these odd-shaped loads, they'll go through like a balancing phase. We saw that with the oddly shaped towers, the tower segments, and they go up, and they change, and they put it down, and they work on the rig, and they go up, and they put it down. But you never know if it's going to be they lift it once, they're happy with it, and it goes, or they lift it and put it up and down 15 times before they're happy with the lift. But we didn't want to miss it.
Adam Chi with a €5 super chat saying, I'm lost. I wasn't here from the beginning. Will they attach this thing at the bottom of the tower and then pull it up to the top to do the catching? So they're attaching it right now. As far as the catching goes, it's going to be able to sort of react and move with the booster as it's coming down. But the whole carriage, that whole big arm right there, is going to be able to go up and down that tower.
It's going to look insane. Like when we actually start time-lapsing that, it's going to look amazing.
I can't even... Oh, goodness. It just doesn't even seem real. $20 super chat from Joseph Pistrito. Go Chopsticks, go Starship. Thank you very much for the support, Joe. I like this one from chat. Chris Day say, all hail the crane operators. Yeah, I can't imagine being the crane operator in charge of this thing right now.
Can you imagine?
That is just that is a lot of pressure. Oh gosh, I love that view there. Flipping through the chat here. And again, make sure you do tag us at NASASpaceflight. And it should show up on my end. I'll get it a little easier for me to see. If you don't actually tag us, it gets really hard to see it there. Here's an interesting one. So Lord Nevitt saying, where in relation to what we're watching now, where did Hoppy launch from? Is that all built on now? So I wasn't yet a part of NSF at the time. So Daz, you might have to correct me, but I believe that, well, from sort of how this current angle is, sort of back and to the right of where that was, is where that suborbital launch pad.
Yeah, there's the suborbital pads back there that were just like flat spots on the ground.
Yeah,
and then the big landing area, which was just a flat spot on the ground. Like there wasn't a lot. Let's put it that way. But
certainly not like anything that we have going on now.
Yeah, behind this and to the right. I can bring up page 2 real quick.
Yeah,
there you can actually see Hopper, the smallest, over there on the right-hand side, and it was flying in that area around where it is right now. You know something from this shot, I haven't compared, because we didn't have this angle before. I haven't compared this angle with an angle similar like 2 years ago. See exactly where it was going from. That would be an interesting thing to do, like a before and after. But I don't know that anybody actually has this photo. So Gotta look into
From that
that.
exact angle.
Yeah. It looks like they've sort of paused here. I don't know if they're working on the other side, maybe.
It could be.
Yeah. See the one larger lift up there in the background, but nobody working here right now.
Let's see. So we've got the lift over on that right side, up with the carriage there, and then there's another lift on the left side there that we can't really see because the chopsticks are in the way themselves.
Yeah, let me see. I think we can free this camera up now to go and have a closer look. A little bit of wind there as soon as I try to do it. Like, I think we've time-lapsed enough on that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
See
Got
what that
some
lift is up
crew
there
in the
doing.
tower. Well, that lift is moving over, taking a look at.
Yeah.
We got what a good angle.
Right there between the chopsticks.
Yeah.
See if we can see down into the tower any. I mean, I can't quite get eyes on the skates in the back corner there. There are people working. You can see somebody walking around. And then the bottom is blocked by the orbital mount there. By the other side.
I'm excited to see the orbital mount, the orbital launch mount, the OLM, without all of the scaffolding.
Oh,
that
yeah.
they have there too. Once that's going to be a little bit closer to done.
I mean, just all the little pieces of tape and stuff like that. You can see the wind blowing out there. Also, a little shake of the camera as well.
Yeah, it's giving our camera some work, but you can, if you look at the left side there, those those
almost like
lifting
telltales
lines,
on a sail.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It just looks like tape that somebody was wrapping something and left a little tape on there. I wonder if that's a thing. Any crane operators out there, like, do they put telltales on loads sometimes?
Oh, interesting.
So you can see the wind blowing on the load itself. I wonder if that's a thing. Seems like it should be a thing. These folks up here look like the supervisors. Little to the left, little to the left. Hold it. We'll back this camera off just a bit because the wind is giving it a little bit of a work over there. You keep zooming out to try and fit it in, and it just doesn't fit into the shot.
Yeah.
Bigger than you expect. Good grief.
Absolutely gigantic. Chris Trottier, maybe? Do we know how fast the chopsticks will raise and lower with the Starship? I don't think we know the rate that it is actually going to traverse either up and down or even from left to right. That is not information that I don't think we have yet.
Right.
As far as the rate, I think it's going to go much faster than we would expect to be possible. That would be my estimation, but we don't actually know. Goodness, Martin Cooper coming in with a $100 Canadian super chat. Martin, thank you very, very much for that added support. Whew. Yeah, Helen Mayo says in chat, it'll be significantly faster in the daily videos. Yeah, we'll have some time lapses of the thing moving around. So Dan Moore had a question. So is the carriage sitting on the top of the bottom of the forward column? Sitting on the
Top?
top?
Huh.
Sitting on the excuse me, I misread it. I'm sitting on the stop at the bottom of the forward power column.
Yeah, I know that there are big stops down there, but I
Mhm.
don't know if it's in contact with a stop right now. I think from this angle we're a little bit blocked there, and I'm not sure.
I don't know that it's in contact with any part of the tower
Yeah,
at this
yeah.
moment.
I mean, I wonder if they're not going to have to come over there and start cranking on those arms to close them. Remember, we saw that person literally just cranking on a lever
Yeah.
to open up the arms is what they were doing yesterday. So, there we go. We'll watch both those at the same time.
There you go.
Sometimes when I stop talking, that's what I'm doing. I'm like cleaning up.
Trying to get it. Yeah, and I'm flipping through chat, seeing if there's any questions coming through that maybe we haven't answered yet, or will just be good talking points. We got a few super chats and some new members that I want to talk about real quick. Andrew Skelly, thank you very much for becoming a new member, as well as John Halstead there. Thank you. And then Jason Alexander as well. Let's see. Ralph Juniper with $5 Canadian. Please keep on streaming. We're going to do it. Just for you.
We're here. I mean, if not the commentary stream, Starbase Live is up 24/7.
Yeah.
Our other, our 24/7 Boca Chica coverage. We've got all of our robotic cameras in the field all day, all night, rain, shine. It's like the post office of Starbase coverage.
Has been live continuously since like July.
Oh, you're going to ask me that.
Yeah, I don't know. Which is to say that it's always on, and it's always good to check in there.
See, the problem is that we ran the 24/7 cameras for a long time before we actually made them public.
Yeah.
And so we made them public on July 12th. And they've been on 24/7 for much longer than July 12th, but we made them public July 12th.
Yeah, I'll put that on the cheat sheet.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Terminal Reset with the $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Terminal Reset. Just now, GunFox61 becoming a channel member. Upgraded the membership, is that what it was, actually. Thank you very much, GunFox. Malik Al-Malik is saying, the NSF team is amazing. You guys are capturing history and content that will be valuable for, dare I say, centuries. Well, that's very generous of you to say, but we'll see how long we'll be around. But thank you very much for the added support. Here's a great question from Clive Anderson. Not really a question so much as a comment, I suppose. Assume they will connect the carriages before the two arms. The middle carriages before the two arms, so that middle section, and then sort of clamp the arms on thereafter.
Yeah, that would make sense to me, I think.
It would absolutely make sense. We don't, exactly know the methodology of which they're using to actually attach the thing, but that would absolutely make sense to me. Yeah. Look, we got more and more crew coming up into that tower now. Sort of wonder how much they can even see from that angle exactly. As far as it going into place. Let's see. So here's one interesting from Yorkshire Phaser. On the top, on the inside top of the chopsticks, there looks like a split box section. Could this be where the tank tracks are installed? I'm trying to figure out what they mean by the split box section.
Split box section.
In the inside, oh, they're talking sort of where we presume that those that are going to be the actual catch mechanism. Sort of at the top of each individual chopstick, there is this sort of rectangular, long piece that's not just like a pipe like the rest of it. And I think it's not outside the realm of possibility to presume that whatever mechanism is going to be able to catch and then also move Booster and Starship is going to go right there. Like we said, we've heard Elon say tank treads previously. So we'll have to see what actually ends up working out there.
Yeah, I mean, I really wonder, like, looking at that, is there something going to be installed on the top of that thing, or are those entire rails on the top of the chopstick going to move back and forth? Like, I can see it working either way, and I sort of feel like having a rail that slides back and forth, it would limit your back and forth capability, I guess, like the freedom of motion that you have. You wouldn't be able to move as much, but you only have so much anyways because of the size of the booster, right? So I really wonder if it doesn't make sense for those entire rails to move back and forth, and maybe there's some sort of tread or roller system underneath them, but it's not like, you know, the traditional chain, I guess, the links of the tank tread, the individual tread pieces. I feel like grousers, that's not really the exact term for that, but maybe it makes more sense to have that entire rail move back and forth instead of like a traditional looking up there and you see like what would be the side of a crawler crane tank tread, you know?
Again, so y'all, if you're just joining us, we're looking at the what has been deemed the chopsticks, the black structure that is going to catch a booster as it comes into land after having sent Starship into orbit. Getting attached to that launch tower, and that's also going to be used to stack the Starship on top of the booster.
Yep.
Just... It doesn't get any more normal every time I say it.
People who are listening to us must think that we're just making stuff up. I mean,
it's just...
Now, don't get us wrong. We do make stuff up sometimes, but we try to be very clear when we're making stuff up. Like, I will literally say sometimes, I made that up.
Stacy Cusack becoming a new channel member. Thank you very much, Stacy. So flipping through the chat here. So here's a question a little while ago from District Line E3. Will Ship 21 and Booster 5 go orbital over its predecessor? I don't know about...
Good question.
I don't think I understand what they mean by over its predecessor. As in, like, will that be the first one to go orbital? Is that the statement?
I think so, yeah. Like, instead of... Is there enough change to Ship 20 that they're just going to go to the next one? I don't know.
I understand. Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, and that could be. It could also be that Ship 20 and Ship 20 and Booster 4 work in such a way that maybe they reveal an idea for a different design, and it ends up that Ship 21 and Booster 5 don't end up even launching. It could be that Ship 21 isn't the one that doesn't end up launching. It'll go to Booster 5 and Ship 22.
Yeah, it may very well be.
You know, that's what happened with SN 16, right?
Yeah, I mean, they have
50,
SN16 still sitting back there, 15 and 16.
Yeah, 16 never launched.
16 never launched. And then Elon mentioned, you know, hypersonic tests flight or something like that, but we haven't seen any other details of that materialize.
So here is one from Ryan Schmidt. If you're talking about the tags coming from the slings and those changed, those are load rating tags that are mandatory for certification and lift worthiness. I think we're talking about, you're sort of calling them telltales. Yeah. Think of them sort of at the, like, for American football fans, at the top of, like, the field goal posts. You have those little flags to sort of show how much wind there is.
There you go.
So we were sort of thinking that it could be that sort of thing, but apparently, yeah, looking like Ryan Schmidt has a little bit of insight as far as
they just have
lifting.
to tag it out, say this is this is that, this has been inspected. You know, almost like remove before flight, it's apply before lift.
Yeah. Let's see. Foulland Black Wolf from chat saying, how do you think they may test the first chopsticks? Will they wait for a booster to actually come back? Or how could they test where a failure would be less catastrophic?
Oh, that's a popular one.
Yeah. It could very well be at this point that they're planning on stacking Ship 20 onto Booster 4 with these chopsticks. I think that's what they're going to end up trying to go for. Like, that's the information that, everything points to at this point.
Yeah, and I think that the most valid speculation there is, would you risk your flight article Booster 4 and your flight article Ship 20 for the first time you lift something with this? Because some people were sort of wondering, well, could they attach load points to the half of Booster 3 that's still sitting out there? Is that's why it's still sitting? Could they, like, raise up and lower Booster 3? And we don't often see SpaceX work that way, where they have, like, oh, well, here's the test article that we're going to move up and down first, like a mass simulator or whatever. Like, a lot of times they're just go for it. But I do wonder, like, if something were to go on, I guess you got to think it through. If you were lifting something on this system and something happened, and you dropped the test article onto the OLM, and it fell over onto the tank farm or whatever, the fact that you dropped it would be the least of your concerns, because Ship 20 and Booster 4 cannot launch without all of the other critical infrastructure right around here. So is it possible you could do something like that and not risk the booster or the ship? Yes, but it's maybe is mitigated a little bit by the fact that we don't see SpaceX do, like, well, here's a full size and shape mass simulator, but we're not actually going to lift anything real until we lift this 15 times. Like, that's sort of the NASA way of doing things. You see them moving mass simulators around in the fab all the time, and it's literally like, this looks like an SRB, but it's filled with concrete, or whatever, right? And we don't see that sort of thing out there. I mean, certainly they use test articles. We've seen them test thinner walls of tanks with thinner stainless steel, and we've seen them build things and then just sort of throw them away because they're learning the process of building them, as opposed to, okay, we built this, now we have to fly it. The important thing there was learning how to build it and working on that process, as opposed to actually using it for a flight or something like that. We've seen that a lot, but I haven't seen a lot of mass simulators in use out there. So are they going to test it with Booster 3? Would they just go straight to Booster 4? Is it going to have all the Raptors installed on the bottom of Booster 4 the first time they did it? It seems like the SpaceX way is to put Booster 4 out there with its Raptors on and see if this thing's going to work or not, you know?
Absolutely. Ben Granby asking, what's the status on the static fire for tonight? That closure has been canceled, correct?
Yeah.
For this evening? Presumably because of the connection here? They're just making sure that this arm gets set up and put together exactly how they want it.
Maybe. That's possible. I mean, they would still have hours in the day. They still have 6 hours from right now to the time the road closure even was supposed to start. And a lot of times that road closure goes all the way to midnight, so they could push to the end of the window or later in the window to give the crews here more time. I don't know how closely those are situated. They don't like doing work like this in the dark. And so there are no problem doing static fires in the dark, right? So I don't know how much of a concern pushing that static fire for this work is. I mean, they could do the static fire at 10 p.m., and I don't know that they would really be doing a lot of They want to have this done well before 10 p.m., I would guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, that's just sort of us guessing based on what we know, what we've seen in the past. I don't have the SpaceX schedule here in front of me. They don't publish these things, so that's just, I think, a good guess on what may be going on.
10-pound super chat from Mark McCormish, or McComish, excuse me. Asking, how do you think the chopsticks will get out of the way during the launch? And I believe that they're going to open up. We were talking about that a little bit earlier.
Yeah, well, they would have to, because if you're going to pick the booster up from the ground, you've got to clear the grid fins. So if you're coming down from the top to get the booster, you've got to get around the grid fins somehow. And, I mean, could you put the chopsticks over to the side and then drive the booster into the chopsticks, like use an SPMT to drive it in between the open jaws of the chopsticks? I guess that would be possible, but if you have the booster sitting there and then you want to bring this over, you'd have to open them wide enough to clear the grid fins. I'm curious to see which one of those two methods they'll use. I don't know what else the chopsticks need to be used for if you've got a booster there on the prep pad. So it would make sense to just swing the chopsticks to the side and get them ready and then roll the booster in between them. But I have a feeling the clearances while you're lifting the thing may be smaller than when you're actually loading it. Like if you're moving it around, you want a little bit more clearance, and when you're actually lifting it, you don't. I want to say you don't want as much clearance between the chopsticks and the thing that they're carrying. But again, that's just me guessing what I think makes sense.
RNTJ from chat asking how long the chopsticks are. 60 meters, question mark. I think that we had heard yesterday that it was 105 feet. I don't know if we have confirmation of that at all.
Yeah, I saw some people just posting up about it, but
Yeah.
I think, we were talking about, did you guesstimate it based on the size of a truck parked next to it in an aerial photo? That's sort of where we were coming from with that. But I overnight, I went to sleep. I did not estimate the size of the chopsticks based on the size of trucks from aerial photos.
Yeah.
Like, let's be perfectly honest.
All right, I'm just going through and seeing if anything has progressed. Looking like it, for the most part, it is still on a little bit of a hold as they're prepping to get it attached. And when I say like a little bit of a hold, what I mean is the chopsticks themselves aren't actively moving. There's obviously lots still going on.
Yeah.
With all that crew there. From our perspective, a little bit of a hold.
Exactly.
Flipping through the chat here again. Make sure to tag us at NASASpaceflight with any questions that you have. When you do tag us, it makes it so that it shows up on my end a little bit easier. It's chat otherwise can move a little too fast.
Yeah, we've got some software that actually pulls questions out, and then we can add them to a queue so we can get to them in time and that sort of thing. So it is a big help with the tagging.
And occasionally I'll be able to catch one just off of the regular chat, but let's see, Roger S. saying, to open the chopsticks to clear the hard points, raise the chopsticks higher than the ship nose, and then rotate out of the way. We're assuming you're saying rotate out of the way. It could absolutely go up and sort of around the booster. which is really like the, sort of the one of the two ways that it could get out of the way for a launch. I think that
Yeah.
if anything, it'll just open up, because then it wouldn't. It's still out of the way enough.
Yeah, we've talked about that, like how far can it open up, and
Yeah.
see like the strong back for the Falcon 9, how far it retracts the crew access arm at 39A out of the Cape. That gets way out of the way, but it's a nice white arm, Exactly how far, where will they put the chopsticks? I don't think that we know yet. Like, do you leave it at the tower base and just open it wide to get out of the way, and the flames of the 29/33 Raptors just, it's not a big deal, because you were able to open it enough? Do you go all the way over the top of Starship somehow, and then go to the side during launch? Is that a possibility? Like, I don't know. When they stacked Starship on top of the tower, it looked like it would be really close. I don't know that the chopsticks would be able to get back over the top of Starship. Maybe that's what we would look at. Like, I'd need to go and pull a photo of the stacking that they did and see, could you even fit these chopsticks, now that we know how thick the chopsticks are, over the top of Starship if they ran all the way up to the top of the tower. I don't know that you could, from my memory of how that Starship fit on there,
Yeah. All right, let's see. 15 shekel super chat. How will they ensure the caught rocket is facing the right way to connect it to the quick disconnect? Will the arms roll it around? That's sort of what we were talking about before, where the information that we have right now is that there'll be sort of a tank tread system at the top of the chopsticks that will be able to roll anything that gets caught or lifted to get it in the proper orientation.
But you got to be within 180 degrees of accuracy there. Like,
Yeah.
if the quick disconnect system is on the far side and you've caught the ship backwards, then you can't do a 180-degree turn and turn the ship all the way around using tank treads, rails, whatever. The load pins would fall off, right? So
Sure, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, I wonder what happens there. Like, I have a feeling that if your Starship's coming in and it's 180 degrees off the roll that you thought it was going to be, you have bigger problems. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're landing boosters on barges with
yes.
pretty fair regularity. I think that having the correct roll orientation for the booster coming in is
Probably something they could do.
it's something they can do. It's probably pretty low on the sort of technicality scale
Yeah, the things
of
to
what they're
worry
doing.
about.
Which isn't to
Yeah.
say that it's not super difficult and technical. It's just that I feel like that at this point they'll be able to get it.
Yep. I agree.
Jacob Stone asking, how do you think that they'll test the chopsticks? We talked about that a little bit before. The truth of the matter is that we don't, as yet, know. It could be that bringing Booster 4 and Ship 20 onto the launch mount might be when they actually try it. But sort of like Das was saying earlier, that's not how you want to necessarily test your device for the first time with your very, very expensive test articles. But it could be.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a fascinating one from Doc Watson. So what is each of your top 3 things to worry about?
Wow. Top 3 things to worry about? I think the most. Go ahead, DK. You
I was
wanna
gonna say,
go
well,
first?
presumably for this operation and sort of it actually coming in, I think that the location is going to be a little bit harder than the roll itself necessarily. As far as like, I don't know, we haven't seen a super heavy booster, excuse me, yet come back into the atmosphere. Or not, I shouldn't say come back into the atmosphere, but come back down to sea level. So I think I want to see that before I start worrying about anything more, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the big things are, for the entire event, like the whole Starship thing that they're trying to do. I think they're going to have to work out the TPS system.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
thermal
I have
protection tiles.
the TPS system totally.
They're a huge worry. That was one of the biggest, most complicated things on the shuttle that they had to worry about was getting those TPS system, and this is like a new attachment system and that sort of stuff. So that's a big deal. The accuracy of the landings, because you don't have a lot of leeway in your landing accuracy if you're catching it on teeny tiny pins that are coming off the side of the booster. And the pins are like the size of a person, but that's still small compared to the entire size of the rocket that's flying out of the atmosphere, flying down from space or whatever. Those are the two big ones, like TPS system making it through reentry and the accuracy given the fact that these don't have landing legs. Previously, when they did the high altitude hops, right, they had the entire concrete landing pad to land on, and they almost missed once.
Yes.
In one of the situations, yeah,
it was translate
Yep.
horizontally like a lot.
It was almost hanging off the side of the pad. When they picked it up with the SPMT wheels were literally hanging off the side of the concrete. And so from a suborbital, like we say high altitude flight, but it was nowhere near what the booster's going to be doing whenever it's trying to push the Starship to orbit. And they got on the concrete that's the size of a massive parking lot, not the size of one person. And certainly we've seen different stuff from Falcon 9 landing on the drone ships, but even Falcon 9, it's not always exactly in the center. It's sort of off to one side, sometimes off to another side. It always looks like it's really close, but when you really inspect it, it's I'm going to say feet. It's feet off the center a lot of times when you see it. And you got to differentiate there, like the landing accuracy versus the accuracy we see from aerial photos when it comes back to port, because we know that they can move around on the deck of the drone ship after landing, right? But still, the accuracy needed to hit those pins onto the rails, I think it's doable. I mean, whatever you think about it, we've been putting cruise missiles through windows for however many years now, right?
Yeah,
so we have computer systems, we have electronics, we have sensors that are able to attain that degree of accuracy, but it's a big rocket.
Yeah.
It's a very big rocket. So
I saw Michael Harrison, one of our channel members, in the chat there saying that TPS is a 40-year-old problem that to this day has not yet been solved.
yeah, it really is. Rapidly reusable TPS. You know? Like, that's why
let alone...
yeah.
Goodness.
It's why Elon wanted to start, and we were talking about, stainless steel doesn't even need it. Stainless steel doesn't need a thermal protection system. It doesn't need tiles. And then somebody did some math, and it's like, we'll do an aspiration thing. We'll do something that sort of bleeds out of the stainless steel via little holes to protect it during reentry. And then somebody did some more math, and that wasn't going to work. And then now we see literally classic shuttle-style tiles on the side. It's almost like NASA knew what they were doing years ago when the shuttle was flying. But the attachment system is different, like how you actually clip those things on. Shuttle was almost like gluing them to the side, right? Mm-hmm. And then when you had to change one, or you had to shim it, or thank you truck for parking right there right after I changed back to this, well done. Like they went through iterations and just figuring out how to make it work with Shuttle, and then they're changing that for Starship because Shuttle wasn't as rapidly reusable as anybody really dreamt that they wanted it to be, right?
Yeah, like literally all of the tiles on Shuttle were unique. Yeah.
And here we see the similarly shaped tiles, I guess, to try and get around that. So you don't have like tile 103876-246 that fits in this specific spot, but only under the left wing of Columbia only. Like, okay. Yeah. It was a very specific setup there. So I think that those are the two big things to solve. Those are the groundbreaking things. Like making a bigger rocket, well, congratulations, you made a bigger rocket. Well done. Like that's cool. But I think we know we can make a bigger rocket. We just haven't really had a need to make a bigger rocket because nobody's buying payloads this big yet. We need a reason to. But they've got to figure out how to get this thing back accurately, and then they've got to figure out how to rapidly reuse it. That's the goal. That's what they want. I know that they have talented people out there working on figuring it out. And if it's possible, I don't know that Elon's going to give up until we've got it going. But I think there's a long way between I love you and I do, and Elon is very much in love with the idea of a rapidly reusable rocket right now, and it just hasn't walked down the aisle to orbit yet.
Yeah. Jeff Jones, a minute ago, I pulled this comment asking if they could spin the booster 360 degrees when it's sat on the launch table. And there is no mechanism within the orbital launch mount that you can see on the lower left side of the screen with all that scaffolding there. There is no mechanism inside of it that can rotate. So when it gets...
Go ahead.
When the Super Heavy booster gets mounted on there, it has to be in that exact sort of proper orientation as well.
Yeah, I could imagine like a thing on the ground, maybe, because we know that they've got concrete pads that seem to be staging areas for boosters and starships, right? And they're right there next to the tower where it looks like the chopsticks could pick them up. But I could envision like a train-style turntable, right? You know, like the train tracks and they turn. And I don't know that they need it because they're transporting it over there on the SPMT or whatever. And once you put it down, you just put it down in the right orientation. And then they either catch it in the right orientation or they don't catch it. I think those are the options there.
Yeah.
You're going to have a situation where a Starship is sitting off in the salt flats and they need to go pick it up and spin it around a little bit. Like, I don't see that happening. So...
All right, going to go through some super chats right quick as we're coming in. So what is... Oh, Harrington TJ with a $4.20 super chat saying, test chopsticks, run Sims, catch a virtual booster. From Mquarius, a €5 super chat. The arms can compensate for inaccurate landing by many feet in all directions, but only the attitude of the rocket it can't fix. And yeah, that's pretty true. That's sort of why they're actually looking at having it be caught in such a way so that it can then be, we can react to exactly where that booster is, catch it, and then put it back on the orbital launch mount, ready to go. We're looking at, according to Elon, within an hour's time to turn it around and get ready for another launch, which is...
I am in love with that idea.
It's staggering to even
I hope
think
it
of.
marries me, but I'm in love with it right now.
Yes. There you go. Danny Stevenson with a $20 Canadian super chat. Thank you very much, Danny. General Urge with 20 Norwegian kroner saying, couldn't they use SN15 and /16 as chopstick test subjects? Firstly, well, they don't really have the hard points that Booster 4 has.
Yeah.
But also, I think that at this point, I think they're mostly trophies.
Yeah, I think the big thing on those is they may not be structurally reinforced on the inside to support the attachment of load points in the spots that are needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I don't know if does Ship 20 have some special internal workings, like reinforcements that allow those hard points to be installed? But I don't know that was in place because that's not how they were lifting those boosters or those ships. But that being said, Ship 20 doesn't have them installed either. Like Ship 20 just has the nose cone attach points, those sort of rings that stick out of the nose cone, right? So good question. And I do have the thing that I've been working on here.
All right.
For a minute. Let's see if we can't show this off real quick. Stand by for I'm not quite there yet.
No worries. I can keep on going through some super chats here. I want to try to make sure that we can thank everybody. Listen, if you're putting in the super chats, sometimes it's just going to happen that we are not able to answer any questions directly, but I do want to do our best to give them a little bit of an acknowledgement for the contribution here. Let's see. Boy, I think I lost where I left off. Musical Wolves with a couple of super chats here asking if there's room for a cam on the chopsticks for visual verification. for catching super heavy. I'm sure that they'll have all sorts of not just cameras, but all sorts of other sensors and things to see how well that has actually been caught.
Yeah.
And make sure that it is.
Laser range finding,
Yeah.
sonic electronic booster catchers. Like, I'm sure they have all
sonic
sorts of
electronic
sensors.
booster catchers.
Yeah, exactly. So here's the thing that I was working on earlier, y'all, and just to sort of show what we've seen so far, right? Here we have a time lapse from earlier, live view on the right-hand side, but this is the sped up version of our beach angle of what we saw earlier. And here you can see what we've been waiting for quite some time. But this is sped up like 10,000 plus 400 or times 400%. So this is like way sped up. This is a couple hours and about 13 seconds, 17 seconds, I think. And you can see there the entire process of getting it from the ground over on the uneven bars, turning, clearing, the crane rotating, crawling forward, crawling backward a little bit. Even the weights in the back there moving. They're actually crawling back and then getting it installed. Or I guess getting it in position to be installed. Yeah. But that, again, is the time lapse. You can see my file name there on the bottom. Whatever, I'm just using VLC to play it. It's fine. I guess I could crop that out or something. But that is the culmination of what we've been seeing here all day. And of course, we have all those different angles. This is just one of our many cameras that's been watching it. And we'll pull all that footage and then put it together for the daily video. Right, DK?
Yep, absolutely.
Excellent. Just let that go one more time, and then we'll switch back to the live view.
And even though that is sped up to just last a few seconds, when this actually moved, for anybody who wasn't here at the time, it moved fast, way faster than I thought it was going to be moved. Was really, really remarkable.
That's actually it's an hour and 30 minutes of real time that it took them from the first motion off the stand all the way up to the position it was in when they were starting to bolt it to the skates, I guess you could say. But that was just an hour and 30 minutes, and I've sped it up to be about 17 seconds.
I really thought it was going to last a lot longer.
Yeah. No, once you got the load on the crane, you don't want to just let it hang around. You got work to do. You want to get it in position. So
especially because we sort of talked about before, they're fighting time in so far as the later in the day down there at Boca Chica, the more wind you end up with, which is why we end up seeing a lot of these lifts earlier in the day.
Yep, that's true. And I do think, I mean, at some point they could really spend the entire rest of the day installing this. We don't know exactly what the timeline is going to be, but I think we are rapidly approaching a point where we're going to leave this over to Starbase Live. Mm-hmm. I don't know how long it's going to take them. I'd love to see them sort of crank down that arm, you know, the obvious arm that's still not ratcheted down towards the tower, but I can't tell you how long that's going to be. So let's go ahead and get through the Super Chat queue. Let's get a couple more questions here and see what we think. I'm happy that lift is in that area because that's what I've been sort of watching. I'd love to see them up there and then see that arm sort of crank in and attach to the tower. But at some point, it may be better served to shoot this over to Starbase Live so y'all can continue to watch. Again, we have that Starbase Live stream is up 24/7, and it uses all the same cameras here. Any of the cameras that I can bring into a broadcast, we can use over on Starbase Live as well. And a lot of times we run those in like a multi-pip setup where there's like picture-in-picture, and here's this angle, and this angle, and this angle. And when we're doing the live streams like this, we'll often show all the cameras we're not using over there on Starbase Live. So I think we are going to be rapidly approaching that point because it could very well be the rest of the day while they're up there working on these lifts.
Yeah, and sort of my take on it is particularly since they canceled that static fire window this evening, it could be like a while.
Yeah, exactly. The big event was the lift and actually picking this up and getting it into this position, and then multiple hours of actually bolting it into this position. But DK, I mean, there's 15,000 people watching. Have you ever imagined shutting down a stream where there's 15,000 people?
Oh goodness! I mean, you know, we both come from Twitch here, and that would be many.
This is like if you're on Twitch, because DK and I both have been doing Twitch streaming for quite some time, and if I had 15,000 people on a Twitch stream, that's like order food, run to the bathroom, stay alive for 20 hours. I
Yeah.
don't care how many Kerbals you have to kill. Like you keep playing
Mm-hmm.
if there's that many viewers on Twitch. But over
Cancel
here on
plans.
yeah, cancel plans, call your friends, say sorry. It's not gonna happen. But anyways, here over on the Starbase live streams and y'all following us on YouTube, that's a whole different ball of wax. And that's, yeah, no matter the Kerbal cost, that is why we also have the 24/7 stream, because while it might not be healthy for us to sit here for 20 hours doing commentary, we still want you to be able to see what's going on, and that is why we have the robotic cameras out there, rain or shine. Sleet, I mean, might cover the lens a little bit, but whatever. Sometimes the lens get dusty if it's too windy, but we've got those cameras live so y'all can continue watching 24/7. Let's run through the rest of the super chat there,
Yeah, let's just go
DK.
through, make sure that
Yeah.
I got everybody. Hopefully we're not going to do any repeats, and I hope that I don't miss anybody here. And so, again, some of these have questions. I don't think that we're going to be able to get to them today, but thank you very, very much for the above and beyond support. Brett Steele, thank you very much for a $5 super chat. Peter with a $3 super chat. Estan, Fen XT, Christopher Kratz, Christopher Tilley, Mark Vic Enty, Nick Park, Marcin Bator, John Melkin, and Chris Longden, all with some super chats, and I think that's all of them. Going through this, making sure that there aren't any questions that we maybe haven't answered or that we have a solid answer for. Looking good. All right. Let's see. So we've actually... One of those lifts is now sort of written at that skate on that right side.
Yeah, it really is. Let's see if we can't bring this camera in a little closer. And observe more closely what's happening up there. Yeah, I mean, it does look like there are workers right around this area. So I wonder if we're not going to see that start to clamp down. I imagine that lift is probably further away so they can clamp around it, but it looks like they're looking around here. And DK,
Yes, sir.
the funny thing, it's the exact same thing on Twitch. Like, as soon as you say that you're going to, oh, maybe I'll stop the stream in a little bit here, you know, it's about time to shut it down. Like, people start to, like, 1,000 people left as soon as we mentioned that at some point in the not-so-distant future, we may stop the commentary here.
Right? That's just how it goes.
Yeah, but that's okay. Like honestly, we are planning.
Well, it's just like on you know, a YouTube video when you say thanks for watching, you can see how the retention graph.
Yeah, exactly.
People clicking off.
Yep. But no big deal, y'all. We're just, again, this might get to be to the point where it's a little bit, what exactly is going on? Is there any big stuff to see? And we also got a little bit of a wind picking up here. You can see from our camera the wind's picking up a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that wobble is from the wind. It's not like it's a camera on someone's shoulder or something where it is you know, wobbling from just their arms. So do we have a pin going in? What are we? The whole arm still has quite a bit of sort of wobble to it there in the wind. It is not yet connected. And we were sort of talking before, the first point to be connected might be the center, which, you know, we can't exactly see through all of the chopsticks, so we can't really get a good view of that from there. But these guys over here are seemingly in place. I'm just sort of scrubbing through the footage to see if we can find any kind of movement at all. Interesting. Okay, well, let's see. Let's I'm gonna flip through some more chat messages while we're looking there. I like this one from Lars. Is it, how about a Kerbal stream? I think there's definitely demand.
Huh.
Dos, you ever think about doing a Kerbal stream at all?
I mean, I've done a
I think
couple.
I think you'd be good at it. Yeah, I feel like you'd be good at it.
I've done a couple Kerbal streams for sure. I don't know if I have enough time to do it. What we need to like get somebody to build all this in Kerbal and then use that to explain what's going on. Like my buddy EJ would be really good at building all this wacky infrastructure in Kerbal.
Oh, EJ would be great. Yeah,
we could bring that up on the stream and say, here's how it's supposed to work, and then have a Kerbal Space Program video on the side, or I could take a live feed on the side. That would be really cool. We've talked about doing that. Like we've talked about like showing the launch animation before a launch, but use Kerbal for the animation. So it's just hours in the day, you know.
From Justin Wayne in chat here, I wanted to tell you here, Das, the GoFundMe for Julia Hauptmann has exceeded its goal.
Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Of course, Julia was that Team Space photographer down there at the Cape who was in the very serious accident, a head-on collision at night on the way to a launch. She was going out there to photograph the Lucy launch and ended up in very serious condition in the hospital. So yesterday we were actually donating all the proceeds, all the profits of our calendar sales to the family so that we could help them out. But I think we've got the calendar. I think they're calculating the total that was raised and sold yesterday, and we're going to be sending that over as well. I'd have to check with the store guy to see if he's done that yet. He was doing that this morning. But massive thanks to everybody who pulled together and helped defray those costs for the family, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I'm just scrubbing through the footage, seeing what I can see moving, and I'm not seeing. Let's see. It looks like the skates, as we've been calling them. You can sort of see it behind. If you look at that, where you see that circle in the carriage itself, and just behind that, there's this sort of black structure on the tower, and that's what it's going to be connecting to. But I'm not seeing that moving at all. I'm not seeing the carriage moving it, looking like they're still just preparing on that side. Oh, but yeah, Jonathan Denmark asking if NSF did the calendar donation yet. Not yet. We're still working on calculating the total.
Yeah.
But you'll see I'm sure it'll say NASASpaceflight right there in the donation list.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I wasn't the one doing that, so I'd have to ask the guy. But I know we had to do like a final tally and then go through and calculate the amount and then do one big transfer over. But I don't know the answer to that yet.
Just now, $25 super chat from Will Cooper says, "Hi, great reporting and commentary. A question for you: how will Mechazilla capture Starship without damaging the TPS?" I also have that question. So there's some points that you can see on Starship, and actually, if you look at the calendar, you can actually see it on the cover of the calendar, where a potential hard point would be, where it would be able to catch it from that without actually sort of clamping on the Starship itself. And that's how it'll be caught. It's not gonna like clamp onto it like an actual chopstick, I guess. It's going to then rest or sort of set itself down onto the chopsticks. If that makes sense. Oh, as Rigel asking why the camera's shaking, that is just wind. It's really, really windy out there. Especially as we get later in the day, we're going to get more and more wind coming out. Unfortunately, just not much that we can do about that. So we're going to get just a little bit of wobble on that camera as wind gusts come by.
Yeah, we've got a machine shop working on a version 2 of this camera mount that should.
Oh, okay, great.
Oh yes. You see, there's not much that we can do, and I'm like, well, actually,
Not much we can do about this today.
we have plans. Yeah, we have plans, and we've got some designs that have been drawn up. So this is the other big part of this is the zoom on this lens, because we've zoomed in an awful lot here, and sometimes you don't really understand like the context. But this camera, looking at those workers,
And then that's absolutely a good point. Like it's not actually wobbling that much. It's just really zoomed in, way more than you maybe even realize. Take a look at that.
you can see
That's
the
how
grass
far away.
in front of it. I don't even think this is zoomed all the way out.
It probably not. It might not be.
It would keep zooming out. I can keep zooming out even further. But that's why, like, a little minute vibration on the camera when you're zoomed in like 20, 25 times, it looks like a lot of movement, even though from this angle it looks like it's not moving at all. You know?
Yeah.
So, just one of the many things we have to solve for in covering what's going on out at Starbase. The environment out there can be really tough to operate in. You see, oh, these 8K cameras, these crazy $100,000 kits, da-da-da-da-da. And I guarantee you don't use that sort of stuff out there every day because it would get wrecked. Like, seriously annihilated by the conditions out there. So it's a balance between the resiliency of the gear, like the thermal tolerances. I mean, we specifically buy and operate gear that can handle the thermal tolerances that you run through out there. You're trying to record with the big fancy camera and it keeps overheating. And our robots just keep marching along. And it's a trade-off. Like, it's not as good of a glass. It's not as good of a sensor. You don't get as pretty of a picture, but you keep getting the picture. Like, the picture keeps coming. Sometimes that's the important thing.
So, right quick here, Das, one other thing I wanted to do, actually, because we didn't do that yet. We talked about Jenny.
Yes.
And her GoFundMe. I'm actually going to link it in chat here for people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
For anybody who might be willing or able to help out there a little bit. Quite the accident, and we really wish Jenny the best in her recovery.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks there, DK. For
Absolutely. I would thank chat, actually. Someone specifically said, hey, what if you linked it? And I was like, hey, what a good idea. I should have done that.
And I mentioned the machine shop working on our upgraded mount, and all of a sudden in my inbox I've got a picture of the upgraded mount, because apparently they're out there working on it with the stream on in the background. So Redline, thank you so much for watching and making the cool camera mounts that we've been putting cameras on.
I like this one from Space Channel 5 as they renew their membership for the 3rd month. The best camera is the one that's with you.
Hey.
And that's always true. I get people asking me sort of like what sort of camera gear they should purchase.
Yep.
And it's, whatever one is with you is always the best one to have.
Yeah. So, sometimes in our situation out here, the best camera is the one that's online sending you video.
Yeah. I mean, that we're even able to do this remotely as we are is sort of mind-boggling by itself.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like playing a video game, pointing the cameras around. It's a lot of fun. But, folks, we're working on the plan here in terms of how we're going to continue the coverage. Of course, we have the deployed cameras. It is starting to warm up out there. I'd love for Nick and Mary to be able to go and get some lunch and not have to stand out there all day. At least we know there's not a static fire this evening, so we were looking for a really long day there originally, but hopefully it would be fantastic if we could free them up so they could go back in. And we're making the decision as to which cameras we keep online, because some of the things we don't like to leave unattended, especially the nicer cameras, we're not going to just leave them out there sitting. So we are going to continue the coverage here, but we are getting to the point where I think it's time to probably kick it over to Starbase Live, DK. You think?
I think we're nearing that point. Yeah.
I mean,
at this point, it's we don't know how long we're looking here. The important thing that we did want to catch was just the lift, and that happened really quickly.
Yep, it did.
Earlier today. And if you missed it, it'll be in the daily video that'll go out later on this evening.
Yeah, there's only 14,000 people watching now, so it seems like people are losing interest.
Goodness.
I mean, only 8,600 of them like it, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, it's true.
How are you doing on time?
How am I doing? I'm good.
Yeah, you good? All right. Because the other thing, folks, is we've got other stuff we've got to do. I've got robots that I need to go down to the shop and build. I've got some.
Yeah, we've got some more videos
today.
that I'm going to be editing for anybody who's been catching up on those narrated videos that we've got coming out.
Yep, the video from today needs to get pulled from the video server so that the editor for today can add it in the daily video. I mean, DK and I both do a lot of other stuff as well, but. Yeah.
I saw it, Chris.
Oh, called out. I think we'll end the stream, and then 3 hours later.
All right, listen, we're ending. Yeah.
Yeah, we are ending. Yeah, it's true. We'll get around to it. It's 9,000 likes right now, right? 9,000 likes. Do we do the streamers gambit, DK? This is very much a Twitch thing. Like, well, if we got 10,000 likes, then we'll stay on till noon.
Yeah, right? Oh, geez.
And then you end up like being on the stream because on Twitch sometimes people are like, oh, for every $3 I'll add 1 minute to the stream. And I've never done that. Have you ever done that, DK?
I have not done that. I know I have plenty of friends who have done the
old
the
marathon
subathon or whatever.
Subathon or streamathon or something like that. But
as soon as you said the 10,000 likes thing, though, a bunch of people hit like. I'll have to say that.
It's almost like I've done this before. Yeah, like seriously, I've seen a stream, and this is a little bit more cringy, but the streamer was like, "Well, I'm not even going to turn on the camera until I get this much in tips." And I'm like, "What?
Yeah,
are you kidding me? You think that's how? Gosh, that's not how we roll around here. Like if we were to do something like that, like if it's like, oh well, for this much we'll sing a song or something. That made that mistake once, but never like oh no,
because you know as soon as you say that you're going to get
yeah, no, there's a rule that says no singing on the stream, and there's a reason the sign had to be posted, you know. But maybe that's our plan, maybe that's our how much money to keep the face cameras off.
Hey, wait a minute.
Starship hot tub streams. Anyways, we're going a little bit too far afield here.
There you go.
Maybe, look, we got 9,600 likes. I believe you can do it. Get it to 10,000 likes, and then DK, you with me? We'll stay on till noon CDT.
We can go a little while, sure.
Yeah. Just pop it over 10,000 likes there, just to show that people are still paying attention to this, because I don't want to just be talking to nothing. I've spent a lot of time talking to nothing. I was a Twitch streamer before, so...
So that lift that's kind of on that left side now was sort of in the center. It's moving back and forth. Still trying to get everything situated for that eventual connection.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that leg cranking down or anything like that either. So. $99.65. $99.85. Oh, it's only $99.85. I guess it's time to shut down the stream.
Oh well, see you later.
Oh well, bye. So roll the outro like 998. Oh, 10:17. I guess we're here till noon, DK.
Oh well, all right.
Well,
in that case, Juan Tripp had a €10 super chat. It said, greetings from Paris. I'm following you guys since the beginning, and I learned a lot about this historic enterprise. Thank you guys. The only thing that gets close to Starbase over here is the Eiffel Tower.
There you go. Has anybody done that? Like the size of the launch, the integration tower versus landmarks of the world, the wonders of the world.
So the tower is, what is it, 120 meters? That's the number I have in my head.
Going for some Google foo here.
Yeah, it's a little Google foo.
Oh wait, the Eiffel Tower or this tower?
This tower. This tower is 120. Yeah.
Was it 130? See, when they were stacking the tower, we were talking about that constantly. And I'm trying to remember the number where it ended up because it was. See, no, I'm going to say it wrong. I think it was like 130 something. And then the exact height, there was some question about what the final exact height was because, well, they putting a crane on top, are they putting a lightning mast, are they putting this, that, the other, like a flagpole, like a miniature, I don't know. But there was some question as to exactly where it ended up versus the original plans, but it was like in the 130 meters.
So we got the Eiffel Tower at 300, so it's way taller.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
I didn't know that.
Like 1,000 feet to the tip.
No kidding. I've
Over
never,
1,000 feet. Yeah.
I've been to Paris, but it was just going through a train station. I went through the North train station or whatever it was. Then we picked up a rental car and we drove to Normandy. We were streaming the 75th anniversary.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Of
I watched
D-Day
that.
out there. But we didn't actually go see the Eiffel Tower or anything like that. It was literally just bags, gear, Pelican cases filled with live stream equipment, and then off to the beaches of Normandy.
It completed 1889. Can you imagine?
No kidding.
Yeah.
And yeah, Tom V, you were answering Rigel there. The robotic cameras are battery powered, and they're solar powered. So we've done all the math, and we've got X amount of battery, knowing the wattage draw the cameras, and I know at night they draw this much, at daytime they draw this much. Some of the installations we've got, I guess prototypes, we're not really using them in production yet, but we've got like IP relays, so I can log into the relay and physically cut power to save power if we need to, if we go through a period of multiple days of cloudiness and stuff like that. But we have all sorts of cool remote management stuff designed to prevent us from having to go out there and do maintenance very often.
It turns out DOS is pretty good at this, by the way.
I'm really good at Googling things and calling companies and asking them how their stuff works with our needs. So we've got remote telemetry from the solar arrays. I can tell you how many amps and volts all of our solar arrays are pushing right now. What's the battery capacity at right now? I can tell you the temperature inside the solar box out there. So all sorts of safety systems in place and everything. So
looking like that lift, is that? It's hard to tell the exact. No, so it's looking like it's still raising actually. Yeah. I was going to say that it looked like it was at that edge, but now it's going to be lifted up.
Yeah, it really is. Let's see. Like the other.
It looks like the lift in the center of the tower just went up.
Yeah. There's sort of the side shot there, and you can see that one aerial work platform on the right-hand side, and then one in the back as well. Interesting extension in the back, how it goes up really high and then comes down again. I think those are the 100-meter aerial work platforms.
Oh, yeah, right?
Yeah. Jeez. Rigel, we're not currently using Starlink for the stream. I've designed the infrastructure so that we have lots of options on how we can actually get on the internet, like actually talk to the cameras. But we're not currently using Starlink at Starbase. Cough, cough. Elon, our mailing address is.
Yeah, and we've got some redundancy built into the system that we have too.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, there's all sorts of secret sauce on how we keep these things online and how we remote manage them. But some days I wake up and I'm like, it's a miracle this stuff is all working. Like, what? Starbase Live is still online? Wow, that's amazing.
So real quick, we got some super chats from Matthew Azarito. So let's see here. Sticks move up and down and left and right. So what moves it in and out? Oh, to center the launch table if the ship lands off center. Yeah. So Matthew, we were talking about that a fair amount here. So the current plan, as best we understand it, is sort of a tank tread system at the top of the chopsticks there, to be able to move it in and out within the chopstick itself, and then also to sort of rotate it if need be, get it into position.
And it may not be a traditional tank tread, like you don't expect big grousers up there or anything, but
yes, they're not going to take it off a tank and then put it on this. But.
Yeah, exactly. That's the terminology Elon used was that, but we haven't seen updated terminology from Elon, and we don't get official announcements or anything. So you can sort of see here, right? The big rail there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Apparently, we know the guy who can control the camera.
Yeah.
It's me. And that rail is what's supposed to catch the pin, the load-bearing pin. Sorry about the wind shake here, but I went full zoom. And you can almost see, it almost looks like there's a little bit of a rail. See that thing at the front? DK? The upper left?
Yeah.
Is that some sort of guide, and then is there a rail, like a rail underneath there, and then is it rollers underneath that, or exactly
Yeah.
what carries the load onto the chopstick itself?
Oh, you know what? I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
Yeah, you see how that looks like a little guide rail almost?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Let's look at the other one and see if we can get the other angle on the backside here. Sort of blocked in that perspective, but somehow it's going to move that contact surface back and forth, and it may very well be that entire rail that moves back and forth. And it may not end up being, you say tank tread, that's just what Elon says, but
that's what he had tweeted some time ago now.
Yeah, looking at there. So, anywho, good questions. I mean, at this point, we're just sort of like looking through the chat, grabbing a couple questions. We have lots of camera views, yeah. I mean, we have,
a fair few of them.
This camera view.
That one particularly gets me. Like, seeing how the sort of skyline down at Boca Chica keeps on evolving. This is a big chunk.
Yep.
That is just, again, remarkable. And I cannot wait to see this thing in action.
Yep. We've got this camera view. Sort of zoomed out a little
There's a
bit more
skyline. Look at that.
Yeah, same position as that last camera, but this is more zoomed out. Then going up towards the production site, we've got robots in between the production and launch sites here. This is the one we affectionately call Mars Cam. Looking out from this angle. Not using this one much today because you can see how the tower structure is actually blocking the work they're doing there. So this is on the back side of the tower relative to all that work that they're doing. And we've got one that's... I probably need to click on the exposure for.
This is really actually an interesting question from Dylan there in chat. I just saw that you would probably know the answer to. Can you see the tower from Brownsville? Brownsville is the nearest bigger city, right?
From something, you can definitely see the tower from Brownsville. You just got to get up above the buildings or the tree line because you got a bunch of the trees out there, and I've never seen it from Brownsville. Like driving on the street or stuff like that, but if you get to the right spot where a tree or a building's not blocking you, you should absolutely be able to see it from Brownsville. So,
Rigel said so limited cam options.
Yeah, limited cam options. There's one.
Just a couple.
This is like a longer range camera.
There you go.
All the way out here. Like I said, this camera is going to get a little bit taller next time I get to pay it a visit. But then we have the mobile gear. We can move things around. We've got a backpack that Mary or Nick can actually carry with them anywhere they can walk, and spool up a stream on multiple uplinks. We got a lot of tech out there that's designed to bring you video. So, see, I like that question. If you want to make me just talk for a while, just ask me about the cameras.
Yeah, that's a fair portion of your day.
It really is. And again, I'm not even looking at the queue anymore. I'm just like live.
Yeah,
fire
you're good.
reading
I'm
the
flipping
chat
through
right
it here,
now.
seeing if there's any questions that we haven't answered recently. We've got a fair few questions. Chris saying, "How does a camera work exactly?" Oh boy.
Well, when a photon and a piece of glass love each other very much.
There you go. Yeah. An electrical signal.
Yeah. The internet's involved. It's a series of tubes. Like.
SG asking if the orbital GSE farm is now completed. It's not completed. There's still definitely a lot of work to do, but now all of the cryo shells seem to be in place, right? I don't think that there's plans for any further ones.
The major components are in place. So we've got 8 of the big tanks, the water tank, the cryo shells out there that have the liquid methane, liquid oxygen, liquid nitrogen. We've got the big methane tanks on the ground. We've seen a lot of infrastructure being plumbed around there, but they just put that other shell down yesterday, so there's still work to be done. I would probably say it's like 80% done. Now, I don't know what percentage it is, but this is sort of the big overt things you can see that have been moved into position. But there's a ton of detail work that's not going to take an SPMT to roll a big shell out there or tank or something like that. It's plumbing things in, it's putting in sensors and controls and all that sort of stuff. And they've been working on that, but we know that there's still some work to be done. That one big horizontal methane tank was just delivered yesterday. It just made it out to the site yesterday, and it takes some time to get all that plumbed in.
And we had some questions about that, and people asking why they've got more tanks coming in if they're trying to build those tanks. I think that's just to get the tests going because the GSE isn't quite ready yet.
Yep. Yeah, it may be to accelerate things. It may be something they always planned. We don't have an official word from SpaceX or Elon what those tanks are for. We do know they're, I say, not off the shelf. They're commercial off the shelf. They're like tanks that are built by a company that makes tanks. That's what they do. They don't launch rockets. They don't make electric cars. They don't do any of these other things that Elon does and Elon's companies do. They make tanks, right? And so it may be that SpaceX was trying to speed something up. It's maybe that they need additional capacity. They needed something to recool, but we don't have the official word on that yet.
Flipping through some of the chat here, Rough Riders is trolling you there.
Oh, jeez. How do you turn these cams
boy.
into solar power cams? Like, is this a solar panel I can buy and have the same setup? Also, how many modems does it require per camera? Find out next time on an exciting episode of Texas Tank Watchers. Rough Riders. But it is most of it is commercial off the shelf stuff. We have like custom machine mounts and stuff like that, and then wiring harnesses and stuff like that. I make myself. I solder them all together. Just to distribute power and all that sort of thing. But, you know, it's not like I'm trying to, well, I'm going to build my own solar panel that's better than other existing solar panels. Like, that's not how I roll.
You had a question just a second ago from Jacob Moravka asking about what's the TLDR on the recent FAA assessment on environmental review. Jacob, I got a little something for you. I'm going to post it in chat here a bunch of times. Mods, don't yell at me for spamming. We actually made a video talking about the FAA's environmental assessment, the draft environmental assessment.
Yep.
And if you're not already sick of hearing my voice, you'll be able to listen to that and get a little more insight. You get a little more insight into sort of future plans too, which is, I think, the exciting part. At least the future plans as they were with when that draft EA had been written.
And we know they're still in the public comment period as well. So they're supposed to have a hearing this evening, if I'm not mistaken,
today,
where the public can give more comments to the FAA. And we saw one of those the other day as well. People, both locals and folks that don't live in Brownsville or Texas, calling in to provide feedback on what their thoughts. A lot of people cheering SpaceX on, talking about how inspirational, how important it is, what SpaceX is doing. And then some, like we said earlier, some environmental concerns, different folks and groups batting the cycle on valid and sort of not so valid concerns. You know, had some NIMBY people that's just don't put that in my backyard versus people talking specifics about environmental impact.
I like this question from the Tuba Man. So when we start sending people to Mars, are y'all going to set up cameras there as well so we can watch the Mars base get built?
I mean, hey, sign me up. Like,
yeah.
How many super chats for a launch to Mars before the first launch to Mars? I don't know.
There you go.
How about that one?
That's easy. You'll just have to take a quick little jaunt over to Mars, get those cameras set up.
Run out there real quick and,
hopefully not have to, go out there too often, but... Yeah.
I don't think my wife would appreciate it if I had to commute back and forth to Mars to work on cameras.
I'll tell you what. You know what? I'll go to Mars for you.
There you go, DK. I see a lot of people, since we were talking about cameras, I see a lot of people asking about Danger Cam. Danger Cam has sort of turned into Franken-Cam, and we've repurposed some of the components of Danger Cam for other cameras, but Danger Cam lives on. I guess I can say this isn't a huge deal, but the uplink that we've got right now off of this camera is actually the previous brain out of Danger Cam. And I repurposed that for this while we create an upgraded model of Danger Cam.
And so, this is a better angle.
Yeah, well, this is all sorts of angles.
Yeah.
But we have repurposed some of those components, and I am working on some upgrades. But there are all sorts of Danger Cam Mark II through Mark Vs in the shop. Let's put it that way. I like naming the cameras, though. We've talked about an RC car camera. We would not do an RC car camera. That is a good way to get a launch scrubbed. Leaving things unattended in the danger zone is not a good idea. And that is a good way to get a launch scrubbed and have a lot of people unhappy with you if you're leaving gear unattended in places that it should not be. So I do hope that we never get a scrub from something like that. But
Right. We also
robot
we had
dog, yeah.
we had people asking about drone cams too.
Yeah.
And
Can't do the technically can do the drone cams, but legally cannot do the drone cams at Starbase. It's multiple layers of no-fly zone for the drones, like an aerial drone.
well, yeah, so I mean, even if
Local
like
FAA,
I have the license to use a drone, but in that area it gets that much more dodgy. In the same way that like you can get closer to an airport if you have the right licensure for drones, but you can't get over an airport with that license.
Well, at Starbase, it's straight up illegal. So
Yeah,
it is
exactly.
a no-fly zone based on Cameron County. It has no zone, no drone stuff put up, the signs put up. Then it's an FAA no-fly zone, and then it's also illegal on Texas state law. Like according to Texas state law, it's illegal to photograph property that you don't have permission from the owner to photograph from an aerial device like a drone. So multiple levels of not going to happen out there.
Yeah.
But primarily, we don't want to
Would
do
that
anything.
it were.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything that would cause a launch or a test to get scrubbed or something like that. So those sorts of ideas we definitely stay far away from, you know.
I like this one from Wolfram, hashtag Jack's kayak cam.
The kayak cam.
Wolfram's been
Nice.
around for a little while there. Tim Gritton with a $10 Canadian super chat. Thank you very much. And Tom in Space with $5 Australian saying Mars Cam Fund.
There you go.
Mars Cam on Mars Fund. Yeah.
All right. And how we doing? 12:56. I'm not watching the clock or anything like that, but you can see that we're getting a little bit more and more shake there.
Yeah. And it doesn't look like there's anything really progressing as far as them sort of getting that attachment, and that might not be for a little while. Again, the important part of today was just that lift, and again,
Yeah.
that happened very, very quickly. And if you happen to miss it, it's going to be in the daily video that's going to be out later this evening.
Yep.
So make sure if you aren't already subscribed, my goodness, make sure you do subscribe so that you get to see that video.
Yep. You got it. I wonder what's got on my camera there. Look. There's a little
Oh,
a fuzz or something. I don't know if it's
a little bit of blue.
blowing maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what could be that color blue.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Anyways, that was a good time. We said that we were going to stream the lift of the Chopsticks, and thought we might get a lift yesterday. Saw them do all that work where they were checking the weight and balance and stuff like that, and they put it
Yeah.
back down. Trying to buy some more daylight here today, but first thing this morning they were out there ready to go. Crane operators standing by, right?
Yeah, and they went. Again, it happened so quickly that it was just, oh, they're lifting. Let's go live now.
Yeah, right. It did. We were
Jeez.
watching. I was sitting there looking at the crane operator, and I was like, all right, is the person in the cab yet? Is the operator in the cab yet? Oh, they're in the cab. Oh, no, they got out of the cab.
And I just messaged you like, hey, let me know. Just message me as you want me on, and
Yep.
you're like, now.
Yep.
Oh, boy.
That's how it happens, but that's what we do sometimes, y'all. I know a lot of times we get people saying like, oh, well, why aren't you live yet? Oh, there's a thing happening. Why aren't you live? And we do pick and choose which ones we're going to do commentary on. We want to make sure that you know when we send out a notification saying that there's a special live stream going on, it's something that you want to see. And we know that people want the commentary a lot of the times, and sometimes we don't do commentary just because we only do it for specific types of events. But I appreciate that, honestly.
Yeah.
Like people coming in and asking like, hey, we love watching your streams. When are you going to turn on the commentary? That actually means a lot to us. That's
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
cool.
It's great that people are looking forward to that commentary. So
Yeah.
speaking of just commentary and us covering things real quick, Jack Daniel in chat there asked if we're going to have any presents for JWST. JWST is the James Webb Space Telescope. And Jack, you can look forward to as much coverage as we can for that.
Yes.
And some narrated videos coming your way with that one as well. That I'm super excited to work on, much in the same way that we did that Lucy video.
Yep.
Was that just last Friday that the Lucy video came out? My goodness.
I think so.
All right.
I didn't release it.
Yeah, well, I was just what
Wait,
I
who
don't
would
know.
know?
The passage of time. It feels like so long ago now.
Oh, if only we knew somebody who released videos to the channel.
That's
like,
yeah. If only I'm
what?
looking. Hold on. Yeah, 4 days ago now. For anybody who doesn't know that we're talking about the Lucy video, I'm gonna spam this in chat now with a little more narrating. Again, if you're not sick of hearing my voice already, explaining exactly what Lucy's mission all is, because I'm super excited about that. Oh, I just beat Chris, just barely.
Nice.
Barat says, love the narrated videos. Thank you very much. They're really fun to produce, and they take a lot of work, so thank you for enjoying them.
Yeah, not something we've done as much of. I mean, we have commentary live streams for the longest time, but usually the daily videos don't have narration, and so sort of branching into the weekly updates, we actually have narrated updates saying what went on, and then also the videos where we cover a topic like Lucy or a launch like that, the FAA environmental assessment, we've done a couple ones like that. So sort of a new thing for us. We're not really known for that, but if that's the sort of thing y'all enjoy, definitely leave some comments, leave some feedback in the comments or whatever the YouTubes say. I don't know. Is that what you're supposed to say?
Smash that like button.
Yeah,
hit subscribe. No, but it really does help us a lot, and we're trying to get more into them. As soon as we can get more, we're going to have them on there.
Yep. Absolutely. But here, DK, I think we've made it to fulfill our bet with chat.
Yep.
It's 12:01. Yep.
So
all the way through. So if you get 20,000 likes, we'll stay on until... That's not possible. There's only 12,000 people watching, and most of them have probably already liked the stream. But anyways, I think, DK, did we miss anything big there?
We got just one £5 super chat from Julian Hughes saying, wouldn't it make sense to vent the methane, which is a greenhouse gas, the ground tanks for recycling?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's exactly what the plan is.
Yeah.
The
exactly.
recondensers. Instead of burning it off or venting it, they're trying to recapture it and recondense it from the, well, I guess get as much of it, keep as much of it in liquid state as you can, but recondense it down from liquid, anything that they actually have to boil off. And there'll always be some venting. Sometimes you have to purge lines and stuff like that. You can't ever reclaim it all, I think. But they are trying to reclaim it. A bunch of the equipment on the ground out there is specifically for the purpose of reclaiming that methane. So, good question there.
Yeah,
Julian, good question. And y'all, hey, this was definitely sort of a more laid-back stream. It's just DK and I. We had a Chris B on there earlier, but this works out pretty well. Sometimes we could just read over and look at chat and sort of read what's going on. We had time to hang out. It's not like, countdown, everybody be quiet. The launch may happen at any second. This is really enjoyable, DK. Thanks for joining me here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. For anybody who doesn't follow DOS, Mr. John Galloway over on Twitter, it's at, what is it? Is it K-Space Academy, right?
Yeah, K-Space Academy. Yeah. Yep. On Twitter.
I don't know if you're able to pull up your information. I'll give you the shout out here.
I mean, I got this it's sort of weird for me to do this, but here we go.
I just don't have the control.
I could just not say that it's me doing it, but
there you go.
Yeah, there's me up in the corner.
Host producer, twitch.tv/DOS Valdez. That's why I call him DOS, because I know him from Twitch. At K Space Academy on Twitter.
Also, yep, that's me over there, and then DK as well. Look, DK, I can do it. I can do it both ways.
Okay.
Longtime friend from Twitch. That's where I know DK from. And there is your information. Slide back out again. Yep. Content manager here at NASASpaceflight at Declarations, DK on Twitter, and declarations.tv, just like you see it in the upper right hand corner, will get you all the relevant links, right, DK?
Yeah, that declarations.tv, that'll send you right to my Twitch channel, actually.
Yeah. Excellent. And you still do gameplay stuff on Twitch too, right?
Yeah, I'm live 4 days a week. I'll be live later this evening, even.
Well, there you go. Well, I think that gets us here to the end of our commentary broadcast for the installation of the Chopsticks and carriage system on Mechazilla. That big tower SpaceX has been working on out there at Starbase. We said that we would be here to answer your questions and sort of talk about what's going on and talk about all sorts of random stuff for the lift, and that's what we did. And thank y'all for the likes there. We sort of had a little joking bet earlier that we'd stay on until noon, because the work teams, the crews out there are probably going to be working on this for hours. And we're going to leave these camera views up for hours. It's just getting me and DK off the mic so that we can go and work on some other stuff that we've got to work on over the course of the day, because we don't just sit around and talk at computer monitors all day long, right?
Yeah. I mean, not all day.
Yeah, not all day. Like we sit at the computer monitor,
Not
but
none.
we don't talk all day. Yeah. Anyways, hey, y'all, also massive thanks to our folks in the field out there at Starbase. It wouldn't be a Starbase stream without Boca Chica Gal. Mary was out there and rolling out with equipment. She actually configured this camera and deployed this camera that we're looking at right now for us today. And she is the original Starbase photographer, Starbase videographer, the first person out there who really started capturing what was going on with Starbase and sharing it. Back then with the NSF forums, she was literally posting videos on the forums, and we started the YouTube channel because we're like, that's a lot of bandwidth we're paying for on the forums. Maybe we should upload these to YouTube instead. But massive thanks to Mary for being out there. And then also Nick. Nick is there as well. Oh, hey, make sure you follow, before I take it off the screen, Boca Chica Gal on Twitter. Pictures of what's going on. Yeah, you want to follow her on Twitter because she is out there every single day. She lives there in the village, surrounded by SpaceX employees, surrounded by Tesla solar roofs and Tesla chargers and Tesla vehicles parked in every driveway. But she lives right there in the village. So make sure you toss her a follow because she has daily just updates, tweets out a picture when something happens, etc., etc. And then also, new with us out at Boca Chica, I guess a month now, a little bit over a month, we've got Nick, our other Starbase photographer. You can find him on Twitter at Nick and Sweeney is up there in the upper right-hand corner. Toss him a follow as well. Picked him up. He did an all-night Raptor watch, which is sort of what got our attention. We're like, wow. This person is dedicated. Look at this. They're out here telling us, getting pictures and showing the number of every Raptor that goes by. And literally, we reached out and said, hey, if you're going to fight that hard for my cargo, you've got the job. It's from Firefly. Anyways, so Nick has been out there with us as well. And he was operating the other view. We've actually had him spool down that other view so that they could go on in and get out of the heat and get some lunch. But massive thanks to Nick and Mary, both out there at Starbase on a daily basis. But I think for now, that is going to actually bring us to the end of our broadcast. And hey, yeah, putting the links in chat over there.
There you go.
Thank you for putting the links into chat, all the different Twitter follows and stuff.
Chris over there listening and lurking.
Yeah. Oh, no, DK.
Yes, sir.
Look. They're cranking the arm in right now.
Oh, geez.
Like, literally, the arm is moving in right now.
Yep. You were 100% correct. Oh, boy.
Oh, brother. Well. Is it still... It has definitely closed around the tower a significant amount.
A significant amount.
But it hasn't completely closed around the tower yet. Jeez. You know what we're going to do? Here's the plan. We're going to keep... One more hour. We are going to keep this camera going, but we'll send you over to Starbase Live. So we'll watch the crews do this. We're just going to turn off the commentary here. This stream is going to stop, but if you want, let's get the link to Starbase Live into chat over there. You can actually get to it anytime, nasaspaceflight.com/Starbase Live. That should be in your browser history because that'll take you straight to the YouTube stream. That is our 24/7. Yeah. Somebody on the tower was watching, and they're like, quick, they're stopping the stream. Start cranking down the arm. God, I'm telling you, people out there watch the stream, and they mess with us sometimes. Right. But we're going to definitely keep this camera going. It is going to be on our Starbase live stream, twitch.tv/Starbase Live.
Nope, that's not it.
Nope, that's not it. It's nasaspaceflight.com/Starbase Live. And you can continue watching what's going on over there. But for now, DK, always a pleasure. Thanks for being
Absolutely.
on with me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for being on with me. It's always fun to be on commentary with you.
All right. So we'll send you over to Starbase Live, y'all. DK and DOS signing off the commentary, and we will see you nerds later. Thanks for watching with us today.